Chapter 5:35. In the end, Su Yen couldn't persuade Huo Chenhuan. She stretched out her arms and hung from his arms to his back. If you're tired, follow me. I can walk on my own. There were hundreds of steps behind her. If she was too tired and her legs went soft, it would be no joke. Don't worry. With your weight, another one won't be a problem. Su Yen. She suspected that he was bluffing, but she didn't have any evidence. The mountain was particularly quiet at night, especially when there weren't many people around. Only the chirping of birds and insects could be heard, which calmed people's restless mood. Su Yen leaned on Huo Chenhuan's shoulder and looked at the steps that extended to the top of the mountain. She seemed to have thought of something and laughed out loud. Huo Chenhuan immediately noticed and asked in a low voice, "What are you laughing at?" "I thought of our son." "Son?" Huo Chenhuan raised his eyebrows. "Dun-dun?" "Yes." Su Yen excitedly shared with Huo Chenhuan the interesting thing that she had discovered recently. "Isn't our Dun-dun short? The stairs in the old house are higher than the stairs in my house. It's easy for it to climb the stairs in my house with its short legs, but it's a bit difficult for it to climb the stairs in the old house. 2 days ago, Uncle Zhang found that it wanted to climb the stairs secretly when we weren't around. In the end, its upper body went up, but its lower body was still struggling at the bottom. It couldn't climb up no matter how hard it tried. Their dog didn't have any skills in climbing stairs. It only knew how to jump. Its upper body would jump up first, and its lower body would climb up again. It was fine if the stairs were low, but if the stairs were too high, it was easy to get stuck and its lower body couldn't climb up. Uncle Zhang found it interesting and even took a picture of it. If this silly dog knew that its dark history had been seen by others, it might throw a tantrum and run away from home again. What Su Yen didn't know was that while she was talking, a dog that wanted to sneak up the stairs while its owner and dog father weren't at home was unexpectedly stuck halfway up the stairs. His upper body was flat on the steps, and there was nowhere for him to place his penis. His entire body was filled with a melancholy aura, as if he had nothing to live for. Just as it was at a loss for what to do, Roly-Poly, who was on routine patrol, quickly noticed its predicament and hurried forward to rescue it. Detected that the house pet is having difficulty climbing. Activate rescue mode immediately. Roly-Poly's big black eyes flickered a few times. Her round hand moved and with a click, it turned into a claw that was similar to a claw machine. She reached out and picked up a Dun-Dun corgi doll. Dun-Dun? What kind of operation is this? I'm really not a doll. Dun-Dun was still in a daze when he was placed on the ground. After a long while, it finally remembered and barked at Yuan Yuan. Don't think that I'll accept an outsider like you just because you saved me. I'll never give in. Roly-Poly tilted its head. It couldn't understand dog language at all. Dun-Dun saw that Roly-Poly didn't say anything, so it took it as a yes. Its watery eyes swayed and drifted to its round body, then swayed and drifted to its round head. Its eyes lit up slightly. Immediately, it laid flat on Yuan Yuan's round legs and tried to climb up. Unfortunately, Yuan Yuan's exterior was covered with a metal layer. It was slippery, and there was no point for it to exert strength on. Dun-Dun couldn't climb halfway up. It was so tired that it collapsed on the ground like a piece of dog biscuit. This is even more tiring than climbing stairs. I just want to take advantage of the fact that the owner isn't home to have some fun upstairs. Why is it so difficult? Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Claw bookstore for free. Chapter 5:36. After resting for a while, Dun-Dun still did not give up. It turned around and wanted to climb the stairs again. Roly-Poly, who had been silently watching it from the side, finally understood its intention. It stretched out its claws and picked Dun-Dun up from the ground again and put it on its shoulder. Dun-Dun was caught off guard and lifted into the air again. Its short legs kicked hard, and in the next second, it landed accurately on Roly-Poly's shoulder. It was stunned for a moment and looked down at the floor under them. Oh, this was the highest distance it had ever been from the ground other than when its master and father hugged it. However, it was still a little dissatisfied with this geographical position. It turned its head and looked at Roly-Poly's head, which was close at hand. Without thinking, it jumped up again. Because Roly-Poly's surface was too slippery, it almost fell off. In the end, Roly-Poly reached out and poked its butt, pushing it above its head. Dun-Dun, who had successfully climbed on top of its rival's head, felt that it had reached the peak of its life. It barked happily a few times. Cough, seeing that you're so considerate, I'll reluctantly accept you as my little brother. After it barked, it patted Roly-Poly's head with its paws, signaling it to bring it upstairs. Brother, let's go. After countless difficulties and obstacles, the robot and the dog finally succeeded in reaching the second floor and started the adventure. Not far away, Uncle Zhang, who had recorded the entire interaction between the two, ended the shoot with a smile, hiding his achievements and fame. There was one more activity material at home. It was really worth celebrating. However, these two were still too monotonous. He hoped that young master and young madam could work harder and give birth to a grandchild as soon as possible. When the time came, they could play together. Just thinking about it made his heart tremble. Achoo! As if it had sensed Uncle Zhang's sincere prayers, Su Yan's nose itched and it could not help but sneeze. Huo Chenhuan immediately became nervous. Did you catch a cold? No, maybe someone is thinking about me. If you feel cold, you have to come with me. Su Yan did not feel cold, but it was curious what Huo Chenhuan would do if it felt cold. If I feel cold, will you put on a coat for me like the male lead in the TV series? Huo Chenhuan, who was walking up the stairs, stopped abruptly. Then she continued to walk up. If you like, that's fine too. What do you mean it's fine if I like it? In other words, you didn't intend to do it in the first place. Then what do you want to do? Go back. If you feel cold, we can go back. Su Yan. What kind of response was that? If you really feel cold, you should go back. But if you answer like this, it's easy to be alone for the rest of your life. Su Yan had a stomach full of complaints, but she didn't know what to say. At that moment, Huo Chenhuan asked, Are you cold? I'm not cold. I'm very hot right now. I'm going to die from the heat. It wasn't easy for me to climb up here, and I didn't see anything up here. Are you telling me to go back now? Don't even think about it. Huo Chenhuan didn't seem to be surprised by her answer. He chuckled and said, Hold on a little longer. We're almost there. Su Yan. What was she holding on for? She was easily carried up by someone, and she didn't have to exert any strength. Thinking about it this way, Su Yan didn't want to complain anymore. She asked softly, Are you tired? Why don't you put me down? I'll walk on my own. I'm not tired. I like carrying you like this. He didn't have the chance in the past, but now that he did, he hoped that the road would be longer, and that he could carry her for a while longer. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle is Obviously in Love with My Joie bookstore, for free. Chapter 537. Su Yan blushed, happy and sweet. In order to pretend to be calm, she no longer stared at the front, but turned to look at the woods and the night view under the road fence. This mountain was facing the sea on one side and a city on the other side. Looking down from here, they could almost see the entire city. Thousands of lights converged into a piece, shining like the Milky Way, but more noisy and warm than the Milky Way. Although this place is remote, the scenery is very good. It's just that the traffic is not convenient, otherwise many people would come here to play. But in that case, I'm afraid the environment here can't be protected so well. Huo Chenhuan heard her silence for a moment and said in a hoarse voice, This is private property. Without permission, no one is allowed to enter. Private property? Su Yan blinked and vaguely realized something. Just as she was about to ask, she was interrupted by Huo Chenhuan. We're here. We're here? Su Yan was shocked and hurriedly poked her head out from behind Huo Chenhuan to look forward. She was stunned by what she saw. On the open field, there were all kinds of beautiful flowers. Green grass and branches were entwined on the walls and the metal arch bridge. It looked complicated, but it was not complicated. In addition to a large area of carefully trimmed green lawn, there was a pool in the center of the yard. A row of tulips was planted on the edge of the pool. Closer to the pool, one could vaguely see swimming fish. The water in the pool should be spring water from the mountain stream. It gurgled and poured into the pool, then swam along the pool's edge to an unknown place. Under the hazy light and moonlight, the yard was covered with a layer of faint light, looking like a secret garden in a fairy tale. Su Yen thought that the manor she saw on the island was beautiful enough, but now seeing this yard, she understood what was called outside cherry blossoms. Is it beautiful? Beautiful! This yard is so beautiful. How did you find this place? This is too. Huo Chenhuan looked at her face, which was difficult to hide the surprised smile, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. This is the place where my father confessed to my mother? Your father and mother? Su Yen suddenly turned to look at Huo Chenhuan. Then this mountain, you said it was your private territory just now, it's private property. After my father confessed to my mother, he bought this mountain as a memorial. Then, according to my mother's preferences, he built this place on the mountain. Su Yen. I'll buy it. As expected, being rich and happy isn't something ordinary people like me can imagine. Although the Su family was considered wealthy, there was still a certain gap between them and a wealthy family like the Huo Chenhuan family. At the very least, no matter how much her brother or father liked it, they couldn't fork out so much money just to buy this mountain as a souvenir. Not long after this place was completed, my father transferred this yard and this mountain to my mother's name as a wedding gift. As soon as Su Yen heard this, he remembered the island and the manor that had been transferred to his name. Su Yen. So, giving your wife a large property when you get married is a custom passed down in your family? If she had a son in the future, wouldn't she have to help her son prepare an island or a mountain for his future wife? Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 538. Ever since she married into the family Hua, this was the first time Su Yen had been struck by the extravagance of a wealthy family. For the first time, she even had the feeling that she had married into a wealthy family. After my parents died, this mountain automatically fell under my name. Huo Chenhuan looked at Su Yen with a teasing expression. It's yours. Su Yen's body trembled as if she had just woken up from a dream. No, there's no need. I already have the island that you gave me. Your parents left this for you. I can't accept it. Huo Chenhuan looked at her and couldn't help but tease her. Who did it belong to yesterday? Men become bad when they have money. Should I leave my money to you? I'm just giving this mountain to you. Why don't you dare to accept it? I'm not afraid. Just what? It's just that this place means something different to you. It's too valuable. I can't accept it. This place does mean something different to me. That's why I brought you here. As for giving it to you, Huo Chenhuan paused. It's my mother's idea. Your mother's idea? Huo Chenhuan moved closer to Su Yen's ear and smiled faintly. This mountain, this courtyard, and this building are all gifts from my mother to her future daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, she didn't have the time to give it away and left first. You're her daughter-in-law. If you don't accept it, do you want me to give it to someone else? How dare you? If she gave it to someone else, wouldn't she be wearing a green hat? I wouldn't dare. So, will you accept it? Su Yen, are you telling the truth? You're not lying to me? Su Yen was still a little doubtful. How could she just give away such a huge property? Moreover, she didn't even know when it would appear. What if this daughter-in-law didn't please her or was greedy? Why would I lie to you about such things? Huo Chenhuan held her hand. Do you want to go in and take a look? Su Yen glanced at the magnificent courtyard. In the end, she couldn't resist the temptation and nodded. This pond was specially dug by my dad. He liked fishing and my mother liked tulips, so he had people dig this pond and planted a row of tulips on the side. Every summer, he would fish here and my mother would cool off by the side. This arch is a pair with the one in the old house. One is black and the other is white. The patterns are the same. Back then, my dad had someone specially design it like this because he wanted to decorate this place as a second home. This swing here was made by my father for my mother. According to my mother, he made it very ugly in the beginning. It was bumpy, uneven on both sides, and not stable at all. She didn't like it at all. Later on, My father specially looked for a craftsman and learned for a long time. Only then did he become what he is now. Unfortunately, no matter how good a swing is, it has changed after so many years. Hu Chenhuan touched the rusty swing. His eyes were filled with nostalgia and some suppressed bitterness. Su Yiyan had been by his side the whole time. She silently listened to him introduce the plants and trees here. She knew very well that Hu Chenhuan needed someone to listen to him at this time. In the eyes of others, everything here might just be beautiful scenery that was worth a fortune. However, in his eyes, everything in every corner here contained beautiful memories that belonged solely to him and his family. This was something that could not be bought with money. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 539. Su Yiyan reached out and grabbed Hu Chenhuan's hand, holding the swing rope with him. Your father loves your mother so much, so he must have made a new one for her. Naturally, they won't need this old one. Hu Chenhuan took a deep look at her and chuckled. Yes, my mom left for a while, but she's still worried about half of the people. Even when she's gone, she won't be willing to let her suffer. What? Su Yiyan didn't hear what he said, but she felt that something was wrong. Nothing. Hu Chenhuan shook the swing in his hand. I haven't been here for almost 10 years. It's okay. We can come here more often in the future when we have time. The air on the mountain is good, and this place is so beautiful. It's good for your health to come and stay here often. The flowers and plants in this courtyard were all planted by my parents. Some have withered, but some have spread very quickly. Although they have invited people to come here regularly to repair it, there are still a lot of weeds. If you don't think these flowers look good, I'll get someone to repair them and replace them with flowers and plants that you like. No need. Su Yiyan said without thinking. This is good. These flowers are very beautiful. There's no need to change them. Those that have withered can be cleaned up and replaced with new ones. Su Yiyan knew that Hu Chenhuan said this because he felt that there was no point in leaving these things behind. However, she felt that each of these things were traces of Hu Chenhuan's parents, and it would be a pity to throw them away. Those that had withered couldn't be helped, and those that were still alive could continue to be taken care of. The main theme of the courtyard could be maintained as it was. They only needed to sow new seeds in the barren land, and let the new vitality bring this old courtyard back to the home that once made Hu Chenhuan feel warm. You can decide. I have no objections. Okay. Su Yiyan's gaze swept across the layout of the courtyard. Although he really wanted to explore this lush courtyard, it was already nighttime. It was pitch black and had been in disrepair for a long time. Who knew if there were any dangerous things hidden in the depths of the grass? After pondering for a moment, Su Yiyan decided to take a look inside the house first. Can I go in and take a look? Of course. I asked someone to clean the house this morning, so it shouldn't be too dirty. In the morning? Su Yiyan immediately grasped the key point. Did you just get someone to clean up this morning? When Hu Chenhuan heard this, a rare look of embarrassment appeared on his face. After Su Yiyan left in the morning, he immediately posted a request for help online, asking the netizens, what should I do if I go too far in bed and make my wife unhappy? Was there any way to coax his wife back? Once the post was posted, there were quite a few people who came over and gave him a lot of suggestions. Of course, most of them came here to drive. The car that drove the fiercest and fastest was the most popular. Whether it was the number of likes or replies, it dominated the rest of the suggestions, leaving all the other suggestions behind. Unfortunately, Hu Chenhuan automatically oversold them and only chose some of the more reserved ones. For example, find a beautiful place to have a romantic date. Watch a movie together to lighten the mood, and then have a kiss, hug, and raise up high. Buy for your wife. As long as you are willing to spend money to buy more gifts for your wife, you won't be angry for long. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 540. As soon as Hu Chenhuan saw the word gift, he thought of the old house with a large yard that his mother had left behind for his future daughter-in-law. He immediately asked someone to come over and clean the house before Su Yiyan's class ended. Then he brought someone over. Su Yiyen saw that he didn't speak, so she didn't continue to ask. She pulled Hu Chenhuan and was about to walk inside, but found that she couldn't move him at all. Su Yiyen turned to look at him doubtfully. Seeing his complicated expression, she suddenly understood his mood and asked tentatively, "Do you want to go in? If you want, I'll go in with you. Otherwise, we can walk around outside. This yard and the night view outside are also very beautiful." Hu Chenhuan met her concerned gaze, and his slightly narrowed eyes were a little warmer. He held Su Yiyen's hand and said, "It's okay. Let's go in. I haven't been here for so many years, and I also want to see what it has become inside." Su Yiyen carefully looked at his face. Seeing that he didn't show any reluctance, she held Hu Chenhuan's hand tightly and went into the house with him. This villa located on the mountain had a total of 3 floors. The white outer wall looked a little old due to years of disrepair. In addition, some plants and vines in the yard climbed up along the corners of the walls, adding a little green to the snow-white outer wall. The interior of the house looked quite clean, perhaps because it had just been cleaned. However, after so many years of not living here, there was a little more decay and a little less vitality. A beige sofa was placed in the spacious and bright hall, and all kinds of rare murals were hung on the surrounding walls. These murals had people, animals, and plants. The only thing they had in common was that their background color was almost all warm. It was obvious that the person who chose them was a very warm person. In addition, there were some beautiful vases. Unfortunately, because no one lived here for many years, there were no fresh decorative flowers in the vases. It looked bare and a little cold. This painting. Su Yiyen noticed that among the murals on the wall, there was a portrait that was particularly eye-catching. It was a portrait of a woman. The woman in the painting looked to be in her early 30s, mature and intellectual. Her watery eyes looked straight ahead, and the corners of her lips were slightly raised. The arc was not particularly big, but it was enough to make people feel the joy in her heart. Just by looking at this painting, one could feel her gentle temperament and the elegance in her bones, making people unconsciously feel good about her. Hu Chenhuan looked at the painting in a daze for a moment. Only at this moment did he finally realize that no matter how much time had passed, no matter how much he tried to deceive himself and others to forget. Even when he married Su Yiyen, he deliberately did not think about this place and handed it over to her. In the depths of his heart, this place was different after all. This painting was painted by my father. The person in the painting is my mother. Su Yiyen had already guessed in her heart. Hearing Hu Chenhuan's words, she could not help but sigh. "Your mother is really beautiful and has a good temperament. No wonder your father loves her so much." Hu Chenhuan was amused by her words, and the trace of sadness in his heart dissipated a lot. "If my mother heard your words, she would be very happy." No one would not like to be praised, and his mother was no exception. With his mother's temperament, if she was still alive, Hu Chenhuan believed that she would be very satisfied with the daughter-in-law he found for her. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 541. Hu Chenhuan didn't stay in front of the painting for long. Instead, he took Su Yiyen upstairs. The location of this building was rather special. Apart from the side that faced the front yard, the other side faced City A, where one could have a panoramic view of the night view of City A, and the other side faced the sea. Standing in front of the window, one could smell the salty smell of the sea breeze blowing over. Hu Chenhuan took Su Yiyen to visit the room by the sea, and then took her to the other room. As soon as Su Yiyen opened the gauze curtains that had just been replaced, she saw the lights of thousands of houses on the mountain path. However, from this position, it was more condensed and beautiful than on the mountain path. Hu Chenhuan stood behind her, reached out and wrapped his arms around her waist, and held her in his arms. "This is my room. The room by the sea that we just went to was my parents' room. These 2 rooms have the best view in the whole house. They thought that young people like to be lively, so they left this room to me. I think they chose this room because they didn't like to be disturbed, even if the person who disturbed them was me." Hu Chenhuan said this with some nostalgia and some grievance. Su Yiyen couldn't help but laugh. She took the initiative to lean back and chuckled. I don't like to be disturbed either. Think about it. If we were at home, Dun Dun or Yuan Yuan, or both of them suddenly barged in. Huo Chen Huan. Well, as long as he imagined this scene, his face would turn several shades darker. Su Yen naturally noticed his sullen look, and it was difficult for her to hold back her laughter. However, she forgot that she could hold back her laughter, but her body couldn't hide her trembling. Huo Chen Huan looked at her helplessly, but his expression was better. He continued, after my parents passed away, I was afraid to come to this place. I even subconsciously wanted to forget this place. Because of this, he didn't immediately hand this place over to Su Yiyen. Compared to the old mansion, this place was more like his home. It only belonged to him, his parents, and the 3 Raos. As far as he could remember, his parents would take some time out every year to bring him here. At first, he would bring along Huo Xiaofeng. Later, no one knew what Huo Qihan and his wife said to him, but that guy never came again. Regarding this, Huo Chenhuan was secretly delighted. He didn't like Huo Qihan's family, especially Huo Xiaofeng and his nominal sister-in-law. If he didn't come, this place would completely become their territory. In this place, he had spent the best part of his youth. But in the end, everything was ruined. When Su Yiyen heard his words, she subconsciously tightened her grip on his hand. Her eyes were filled with heartache. Her man originally had a harmonious and happy family. His family was wealthy and his parents were loving. With such a family atmosphere, the children raised should be full of hope for the future. But in his previous life, he was like an old woman with 1 foot in the grave. He was rotten, twisted, and even crazy. Su Yiyen lowered her eyes to hide the sadness and heartache in her eyes. She comforted him in a low voice, "It's all in the past. Now you have me. In the future, there will be more people." "Okay," Huo Chenhuan responded in a low voice. "Yan, yes. I only have you. Don't leave me." Su Yiyen's heart suddenly trembled. Without thinking, she said, "As long as you still need me, I will never leave." Chapter 542. The tens of thousands of lights outside the window were like shining stars, twinkling to show their vitality. The night breeze blew through the trees in the forest, rustling the leaves and the gauze curtains by the window. Under the dense light, 2 figures could be vaguely seen getting closer and closer until they were inseparable. The next morning, the 2 of them woke up early and returned to the family Hua. They thought that the family members would still be asleep at this time, but when they walked into the living room, they bumped into Uncle Zhang, who was holding Dun Dun and standing not too far away with a smile. Uncle Zhang? Young master, young madam. Uncle Zhang looked at the 2 sneaky people, and the smile on his face deepened. Last night, the 2 of you, Su Yen was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Nothing happened last night. We didn't meet anyone. Uncle Zhang glanced at the red marks on Su Yen's neck, but he didn't expose her. He smiled and said, "Young master and young madam are both adults. It's not a big deal if you don't go home at night. It's just that there are all kinds of people out there. It's not like home. Young master and young madam should be more careful. It's getting late. Young master and young madam should go upstairs and change. I'll supervise the kitchen and have them prepare breakfast as soon as possible." The 2 of them were like students who had been caught skipping class by the discipline master. They nodded obediently and hurriedly said, "Thank you for your hard work. We'll go up right away." Uncle Zhang looked at the 2 people who were fleeing in panic. His smiling eyes were full of understanding that he could not see through them. Ever since young madam married into the family Hua, the house had become much livelier. Now that young master's leg had recovered, he was a little livelier because of her. It was good. Young people should be more energetic. How could they be so lifeless? Su Yiyen went to Dongxing City after a simple breakfast. As soon as she got out of the car, she bumped into Ling Xiaoqi, who was also coming to work. Women are indeed different after having a man. Look at your rosy face. It's just missing the words "I'm very nourished" written on your forehead. What are you talking about? Su Yiyen flew into a rage out of humiliation. She pounced on her and was about to tear her mouth open. Ling Xiaoqi was already prepared. She quickly dodged to the side to avoid Su Yiyen's sneak attack. You're anxious, you're anxious. Ha. Su Yen's attack missed. Gnashing his teeth, he said, if you do it again, believe it or not, I'll send Dun Dun to your house tonight. Who knows, maybe next month your Hua Hua will be pregnant. Ling Xiaoqi's laughter stopped abruptly. She looked at Su Yen in disbelief. Are you a devil? A Hua Hua is still a baby. Su Yen took advantage of her stupor and pinched her face. You're laughing at me. Am I not a devil? This is called giving him a taste of his own medicine. Ling Xiaoqi's face was pinched. She couldn't speak clearly and could only glare at Su Yen angrily. Su Yen vented his anger and quickly let go of her. You're so cruel. My face is red because of you. Ling Xiaoqi rubbed the red marks on her face and glared at Su Yen indignantly. Su Yen glanced at her and couldn't help but poke the 2 red marks. He smiled and said, fortunately, I pinched both sides just now. One left and one right is symmetrical. If I only pinched one side, wouldn't I be killing someone with OCD? Ling Xiaoqi. That's too much. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 543. Ling Xiaoqi saw that she couldn't win over Su Yen. She rubbed her face with both hands, snorted, and turned to leave. Su Yen saw this and hurried forward to hold her hand. She smiled apologetically and said, Are you really angry? Do you know what you did wrong? Did I pinch you too hard just now? Ling Xiaoqi rolled her eyes and said, I was wrong just now? Have you been having a good time recently? No, you're right. She had been having a good time recently. You're right and you pinched me. Su Yen. Fine, she was in the wrong. Well, is it that obvious? Su Yen was a little embarrassed. Ling Xiaoqi rolled her eyes and poked her forehead. It's written all over your face. How can it not be obvious? Su Yen touched the spot where she was poked and laughed foolishly. Ling Xiaoqi choked and stopped in her tracks. She turned around and looked at Su Yen with disappointment. Do you smell something on me? What smell? Su Yen subconsciously leaned over and sniffed. There's no smell. The fragrance of a single dog. It's completely different from a flirtatious bitch like you who reeks of love. Ling Xiaoqi waved her hand and continued to walk forward. Su Yen finally realized what Ling Xiaoqi meant. She quickly stepped forward and bumped into her. She said with a half smile, Jealous? Jealous my ass. Being single makes me happy. I've been with you for a long time. I can introduce you to my brother. My brother is a good man who can't be found anywhere. If you don't make an appointment now, in a year or 2, he might end up in the hands of some demon. How much do you want me to be your sister-in-law? Su Yen made a gesture. Just a little bit. But if you're willing, you can develop this little bit into a vast ocean. After all, we should keep the goodies within the family. Ling Xiaoqi. So, this fat water was referring to her or a certain someone's big brother. Ling Xiaoqi and Su Yen parted ways before they entered the entrance. They belonged to different departments and walked in different directions. Just as she sat down at her desk, Xia Junxing came looking for her. Yayan about Ri. Xia Junxing's words were stuck in his throat. He stared at her in shock, as if he had seen a ghost. Su Yen looked up at him doubtfully. What's wrong with Rui? Yayan? Xia Junxing reached out and pointed at a certain spot on his neck. Su Yen suddenly had an ominous premonition. He took out a mirror and looked at his side. Sure enough, he saw that there was a damn Ling Xiaoqi, what was written on her face. She obviously saw this thing on her body, but she didn't tell her. Xia Junxing looked at his boss's gloomy face that could rain at any time and silently lit a candle for the unknown President Hua in his heart. I didn't see anything. As for Rui, the acquisition matters have been completed. Do you want to send someone to manage it or simply merge it and let it become a subsidiary of Dongqing City? Let's merge it directly. Have you checked those senior executives, artists, and agents? Yes, most of the senior executives of Rui are in prison because of tax evasion. The rest of them realized that something was wrong, so they sold their shares and ran away. The rest of them have no real power and are more well-behaved. Okay. Su Yiyen nodded. What about Luo Weibing's former agent? Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 544. That agent originally clung to a senior executive of Rui. As soon as the senior executive stepped in, he ran away. Su Yiyen twisted his eyebrows and his face was a little ugly. Did he run away? Luo Weibing, the former agent, was a living troublemaker. He bullied the weak and was afraid of the strong. Luo Weibing was tortured by him in the early years. After he became popular, he licked him again. It was a pity that Luo Weibing had seen what this person was like at that time. Although he didn't replace him, he was not very close to him. This person held a grudge, and Luo Weibing insisted on not renewing the contract. He was scolded by the senior executives of the company. He counted all these things on Luo Weibing's head and became more and more resentful. He boasted that he had discovered Luo Weibing and brought him into the entertainment circle. He was grateful to him. He believed that Luo Weibing's actions were ungrateful, so he wanted revenge. The so-called scandals between Luo Weibing and Su Yiyen, as well as the scandals about Luo Weibing's acting as a big shot and sexual harassment, were mostly caused by him. It happened that the senior executives of the company were also very dissatisfied with Luo Weibing's refusal to renew the contract. They wanted to mess with him, so they colluded with each other and made those dirty things. Even if Luo Weibing, the former agent, was not able to be a mastermind, he must be the biggest accomplice. He just let him run away. Su Yiyen was really angry. He didn't run away. Xia Junsheng obviously thought so. This person didn't get along with Luo Weibing. He had several artists under him. In addition, he had a close relationship with a senior executive of the company and secretly helped him do a lot of unforgivable things. After the senior executive was arrested, the people over there had been eyeing him. He wanted to run away, but he was caught as soon as he ran out of the door. Puff. Su Yiyen couldn't help laughing. It's good to catch him. Since he is involved with the senior executives, he should not be able to come out in a short time. Even if he comes out, some people will trouble him. It's safer to stay inside. Su Yiyen heard his implication and didn't continue to talk about this person. What about the artists of their company? Does anyone want to leave? Yes. Some of them want to leave while others want to stay. Investigate the background of these rows. The good ones can be focused on nurturing. They can be compared to the standards of our company's rows, so there's no need to treat them differently. Those with evil intentions would either terminate their contracts or freeze them. Be careful not to let them cause any trouble. If you want to leave peacefully, you can terminate the contract peacefully. If you have bad intentions, you don't have to be polite to them. When Xia Junsheng heard Su Yiyen's words, he roughly understood her attitude towards Ray. He nodded and said, I understand. I will send someone to take over as soon as possible. Also, anything else? It's about our company's key IP plans. Su Yiyen was stunned. Only then did she remember that she had been inspired by the movie Fantasy Feast, which was about to be made into a movie of the same name. Therefore, she had urgently acquired several network IPs with more potential. After preparing for a few years, they would spend a lot of money to focus on building these IPs and use them to make more pillars like Luo Weibing and Shui Kaiwei popular. These acquired IPs covered a wide range of genres, including original works, radio dramas, and even comics. The story backgrounds were modern, ancient, future interstellar, apocalyptic zombies, gods, and demons. Su Yiyen pondered for a moment. I remember that among the several proposals you presented to me before, one was a comic adaptation, and the other two were all adaptations. The latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore was free to read. Chapter 545. These three were the most popular IP on the internet and had a larger audience. Among them, the comic was mainly about some funny stories, mixed with weird fantasy elements. If it was filmed well, it could become a hit even as a web drama. This kind of drama was most suitable for supporting newcomers. After all, newcomers might not have particularly good acting skills, But they had the advantage of being flexible. Once the character's spirit was shown, it would be easy for people to remember. What was the entertainment industry most afraid of? It was that people could not remember your face. As an actor, whether it was the protagonist or the villain, as long as the audience remembered your face, you would have succeeded. The other two IPs were adaptations. One was a modern drama about love and hate, and the other was an ancient drama about Peking opera. Over the years, with the stability of life after the migration, people became more and more respectful of the restoration of ancient culture. Many ancient dramas were born. Unfortunately, due to the loss of ancient culture in the real world, most of the dramas were like dogs instead of tigers. A lot of idol dramas with ancient culture were filmed with huge sums of money, but there were not many that could really become popular. One of the main reasons why Su Yayan picked this IP at first glance was that the author who wrote it had a good understanding of ancient culture and could be considered a professional. He was not just writing nonsense under the banner of ancient culture without any basis. Another reason was that when the system was upgraded, a picture book that had nothing to do with medicine had dropped from the upgrade treasure chest. It was about Peking opera. With this skill book and some professionals, Su Yen was willing to take a gamble on this IP. What's wrong with these IPs? Not enough funds? No, we have enough funds. Someone wants to work with us. Work with us? Su Yen raised her eyebrows. There were many roles in a drama. Even if it was a drama that was used to promote their company's art, it was impossible to use people from their own company. Which one of these three are they interested in? It's Love and Hate. Love and Hate was the modern IP. Su Yen was a little surprised. In her opinion, the one with the most potential among the three IPs should be the drama about Peking opera. But on second thought, the subject matter of this drama was more sensitive, and it was a serious drama. In the eyes of outsiders, the chances of a failure were much higher than a success. It was understandable that they were unwilling to take this risk. Which company are they from? Jueying. Jueying? Because she had accepted Dongqing, Su Yen also tried to understand the entertainment companies in the industry. This Jueying company was about the same size as their company. It was a new company that was developing quite well. It did not have many artists under it, but their potential was not bad. What are their conditions? They want the roles of the first male lead and second female lead. In exchange, they can invest 10 million yuan. 10 million was not a small amount. Modern dramas did not need to simulate the background, and the makeup and costumes did not need to be too exquisite. The initial investment was lower than other types of dramas. The fact that Jueying was willing to fork out such a sum of money for these two characters could be considered very sincere. Yes, but you have to audition and the director is satisfied. In addition, whether it was an artiste in the company or an outsider, they were not allowed to change or add scenes after the script was set. The details can be discussed. If anyone dares to casually add scenes and cause the main plot and other characters to collapse, they should get out of here as soon as possible. Let them add this point into the contract. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 546. Okay. Xia Junxing noted down Su Yen's request and breathed a sigh of relief. If there's nothing else, I'll go out first. Xia Junxing looked puzzled. Is there anything else? Is the first draft of Fantasy Feast ready? Not yet. It's an original script. Although it's related to the game, it can't completely copy the background story of the game. The scriptwriter is still negotiating with the game designer. The first draft may take a month to be completed. Don't worry. Let them show me the first draft when they're done. Although Xia Junxing didn't understand why Su Yen was interested in the script, he still obeyed. After briefly discussing the internal affairs of the company with Xia Junxing, Su Yen couldn't help but think of Hu Chenhuan when she was free. What was he doing now? Was he at home or out? Where could he have gone? After absent-mindedly reviewing the documents for a long time, Su Yen couldn't help but take the initiative to call Hu Chenhuan. As soon as she heard Hu Chenhuan's voice, Su Yen couldn't help but smile. Yes, where are you now? Listening to his wife's soft voice, Hu Chenhuan's face unconsciously softened. The company's executives, who were waiting for the meeting, looked as if they had seen a ghost. Some of the smarter ones subconsciously looked at Gu Xiaoyang and the others, who were sitting not far from Hu Chenhuan, and looked at them inquisitively. Gu Xiaoyang and the others knew what they were thinking. When they saw this scene for the first time, their surprise was no less than theirs. In the face of several inquiries, Yu Zian silently said the word, "Madam," to his trusted subordinates. When the subordinates saw his mouth, they immediately understood. It turned out to be "Madam." No wonder the boss suddenly changed his attitude. If it were them, they would also, forget it. If they coveted "Madam," they would be beaten to death by the boss. Hu Chenhuan didn't notice the actions of the subordinates. She smiled faintly and replied, "At the company." "The company? You went to the company? Which company is it?" "Fantasy headquarters." "Fantasy?" Su Yiyen mulled over the name of the company, and it took him a while to remember. This seemed to be the headquarters of several companies under Hu Chenhuan's name. Zui Yanbai, Gu Xiaoyang, and Yu Zian were all subsidiaries of this company. Since Hu Chenhuan didn't show up in the company all year round, the headquarters adopted a rotation system. Basically, one person was in charge for a month, and a quarter was a cycle. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt that the three of them were quite pitiful. They had been squeezed dry in all sorts of ways, and they wished that they could take turns working 360+ times a year. The three of them. "I feel wronged, but I won't cry." "Are you alone? Is the company environment good? Will you feel uncomfortable going to the company for the first time? Do the employees in the company treat you well?" Hu Chenhuan listened to Su Yiyen's words, which were full of concern and worry. The smile in her eyes deepened. After she finished speaking, she reminded in a low voice, "Yan, I'm the boss of the company." He was the boss of the company. Before, when he didn't come to the company, no one dared to ignore him, let alone now that he personally came to the company to work. After Su Yiyen finished speaking, she realized that she had asked a few silly questions. Her face turned red, and she didn't say anything. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Hu Chenhuan roughly guessed her thoughts. She took the initiative to change the topic. "You called me at this time. Do you miss me?" Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 547. Only then did Su Yiyen remember the main reason why he called Hu Chenhuan. However, he still subconsciously retorted, "No. You didn't miss me?" But Su Yiyen was at a loss for words. "Then that means you missed me." "Su Yiyen. Although you're not wrong, why do these words sound so shameless coming out of your mouth?" I missed you too." Su Yiyen's rebuttal was immediately defeated by someone's greasy confession. He felt depressed but also a little sweet at the same time. Su Yiyen, who was continuously teased, gave up struggling. He decisively skipped the question of who missed who and went straight to the point. "Well, I called you because I want to, what? In order to thank you for bringing me to such a beautiful place last night and giving me such a beautiful courtyard, I'll allow you to order food tonight. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What do you want to eat? Hurry up, I'll change my mind if you're late. Order food." Hu Chenhuan's eyes flashed. "Anything? As long as it's something I know how to do, anything is fine." Hu Chenhuan was silent for a while and said hoarsely, "I don't feel like eating tonight." This answer was unexpected by Su Yiyen. "Why do you suddenly not feel like eating? Are you not feeling well? Have no appetite?" Before Su Yiyen could finish asking, a faint voice came from the other end of the phone. "I want to eat you." "Su Yiyen? Everyone? Will I still be alive after today?" Su Yiyen's face turned red and he exploded on the spot. "I suspect that you're driving, and I have evidence." "Oh." Hu Chenhuan's expression was strange. His tone was so calm that it made people want to beat him up. "Do you want to get in the car? I'll take you for a ride." Everyone was completely dazed. Car. What were they talking about? It was too profound, and they couldn't understand it. Yes, they couldn't understand it. Su Yiyen was burning up. She resisted the urge to hang up the phone and complained, "I'm being serious with you. What do you want to eat?" "No, I'll make the decision myself." Huo Chenhuan could tell that Su Yiyen was about to explode. She chuckled and said, "I want to eat sweet and sour yen, braised yen, fried yen. Oh, forget it, let's just steam yen. The original flavor is the best." Su Yiyen, everyone. What the F***ck, did boss and madam know how to play at home? Su Yiyen's mind went blank. In the end, she still exploded. "If I don't kill you, you don't have to eat tonight." After shouting, she didn't wait for Huo Chenhuan's reaction and directly hung up the phone. Huo Chenhuan was yelled at by his wife, but not only was he not angry, he even seemed a little happy. The smile on his face made everyone's hair stand on end. When he came back to his senses from teasing his wife, he finally remembered the room full of pitiful people who had been forgotten. Then, everyone was lucky enough to see their big boss change his expression on the spot. A few minutes ago, he was like a spring breeze, gently confessing to his wife and secretly flirting with her. Now, he was like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves in front of them. Cold. Feelings. Huo Chenhuan's sharp gaze swept across everyone present. He said with a faint smile, "What did you see and hear just now?" Everyone. F***ck, this is a suicide question. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Clearly Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 548. In the end, Zui Yanbai was the first to break the silence and lead everyone in the room to save themselves. "Ahem, we didn't see or hear anything just now." The others seemed to have woken up from a dream and hurriedly echoed, "Yes, yes, yes, we didn't see or hear anything." They didn't see their boss's gentleness and sweetness towards his wife, and they didn't hear their boss flirting with her husband. They were all blind and deaf today. "So, boss, please spare our lives." Huo Chenhuan glanced at the trembling crowd and mercifully asked, "Where were you just now?" Zui Yanbai and the others felt as if they had been pardoned. They hurriedly winked at the department head who had reported on their work and asked him to quickly continue the conversation. Although the gossip between the young master and the young master was exciting, it would be fatal if one watched too much. Su Yiyen was fierce with his words, but he had a sharp tongue and a soft heart. He couldn't bear to let him go hungry. As soon as he got home, he ran to the kitchen and gave some benefits to his fans in the live broadcast room. "Recently, I've been feeling hot, so I've been feeling heaty. My appetite hasn't been very good either. So today, I'll bring some medicinal cuisine and home-cooked dishes to clear away heatiness and improve your appetite." Huo Chenhuan had just clicked into the live broadcast room when he heard these two sentences. He seriously suspected that these things to reduce heatiness were specially prepared for him. After all, he had been heaty recently. Before he could think further, the screen of the live broadcast room was already flooded with comments from the audience. "Recently, I've been really heaty. Once I'm heaty, I feel irritated. My mouth is bitter, and I have no appetite at all. Sob, sob, sob. Upstairs, you only have a bitter mouth. I'm the one who's really miserable. I have several bumps in my mouth. After they break, I feel so sore. Shaking hands with upstairs, I have bumps in my mouth when I'm heaty. Not only in my mouth, but also on my face. It's so infuriating. Not only do I have bumps in my mouth, but my teeth also hurt. The flesh under my teeth is swollen and soft. It feels like it'll break at any time. It's really torturous." Generally speaking, there are 4 types of heatiness: liver fire, heart fire, lung fire, and stomach fire. If one felt bitter in the mouth, it was usually due to excessive liver fire. If there was a bump in the mouth, it was due to excessive heart fire. There are many reasons for excessive internal heat. Other than anger, you usually stay up late and drink too little water, so it's easy to get excessive internal heat. Since it was relatively hot, Su Yiyen mostly prepared cool and sweet soups: longan, lotus seed soup, wolfberry, and white fungus soup. Then, he used a ball-digging tool to dig out a watermelon cup and used the ready-made watermelon skin to carve an exquisite pattern. It was supposed to be a very simple ingredient, but after she made it, It suddenly became a beautiful and exquisite after-meal fruit. Su Yen mostly chose dishes that were appetizing, calming, and protecting the liver and kidneys. Dongpa tofu and asparagus with straw mushrooms were vegetarian dishes that tasted lighter. The heaviest dish should be the fried pork kidney in soy sauce. The smell of pork kidney was quite strong, and if it was not handled well, the smell alone was enough to dissuade most people. Su Yen first removed the tendons in the pork kidney, then soaked it in water. After that, she soaked it in cooking wine to remove the smell. Then, she added hot oil and stir-fried it. In addition, she also needed to add seasonings such as scallions and ginger to remove the smell. Then, she mixed in some refreshing cucumbers and fungus. A fresh and tender fried pork kidney in soy sauce was done. Chapter 549. Everyone was very curious about this dish. When Su Yen first took out the pork loin, many viewers in the live stream subconsciously frowned. The taste of the pork loin was very impactful to most people. Even if the tendons were removed and stewed, the smell would linger for a long time. Now that the dish was ready, although everyone was curious, they did not dare to try it. It was not until the first batch of curious people came out to share their thoughts that people started to try it. When the host first took out the pork loin, the smell almost made me give up. I didn't expect it to be so tender and delicious after cooking. The previous smell is all gone. It's true. I didn't dare to eat this at first. I always felt that the smell was not clean. When I saw other comments, I tasted it out of curiosity. I kind of fell in love with the taste. Sure enough, no matter what it is in the host's hands, it changes greatly. The fish is no longer fishy, and the mutton is no longer smelly. Now, this pork loin is the same. Paired with a crispy and sweet cucumber, it's super delicious. It's soft and crispy. The texture is a little strange, but it's really delicious. After hearing your words, I want to eat it too. I'm salivating too. Su Yen took some time to glance at the screen. Seeing that most people were not repulsed by the taste of the pork loin, she felt relieved and turned to prepare the next dish, chrysanthemum sea base. The so-called chrysanthemum sea base was made by cutting the base meat into the shape of a chrysanthemum, marinating it with cooking wine, wrapping it in corn flour, and frying it in a wok. From afar, it looked like a blooming chrysanthemum. When the dish was placed on a plate, a few pieces of cooked green vegetables were placed on the bottom of the plate. The dish was like a scene. Every time people saw it, they could not help but admire the exquisite craftsmanship of the chef and the unique characteristics of the dish. When cooking this dish, a little lemon juice can be added to remove the fishy smell and freshen it up. It has an appetizing effect. However, because it's fried food, viewers with blisters on their mouths should not eat too much. It's okay. The food tasting in the live stream will not affect reality. Thank you again for inventing the virtual simulator. I can taste all kinds of delicious food and not be afraid of eating too much. After hearing what you said, my resentment of not being able to eat the ingredients made by the host in reality suddenly disappeared. Although what you said makes sense, it's even more unbearable to find that your stomach is still empty after eating. Sob. The dishes made by the streamer always arouse my appetite. Even if it makes me heady, I still want to eat it. Please pick me later. Su Yen looked at the various complaints on the screen and smiled. It was nothing. She glanced at the dishes on the table and felt that it was still a little too little, so she added a dish of braised bamboo shoots and green bean lotus root. The mung bean lotus root was actually made by replacing the glutinous rice in the rock sugar and glutinous rice lotus root with mung beans that could cool down the heat. The lotus root was cut into slices with mung beans inlaid in the middle. With one bite, it had both the sweetness of rock sugar and the freshness of mung beans. The crisp texture of the lotus root paired with the sticky mung beans was quite popular among the audience who liked sweet food. After the live broadcast ended, Su Yen called for a few chefs to help take the few dishes in the kitchen out with Tang Du unexpectedly. As soon as he walked out of the kitchen, he saw the family of 3 uninvited guests sitting opposite Huo Chenhuan in the living room. Chapter 550. Strictly speaking, they could not be considered uninvited guests. The person who came was old Master Jiang, who had come to ask for help. Beside him was a girl who looked about 20 years old and was sitting in a wheelchair. She should be his eldest granddaughter who had been harmed by her scumbag father. Beside the girl was a non-mainstream teenager who was a few years older than her. He had green hair on his head, and the powder on his face could probably be used to paint a wall. His exaggerated smoky makeup and unruly expression made him look like a chunibu no matter how one looked at him. The non-mainstream teenager was stunned when he glanced at Su Yiyan. Then, there was a little more inquiry and suspicion in his eyes. Su Yiyan did not care what this person was thinking. She asked in confusion, "Why are you here at this time?" If she remembered correctly, the appointment with old Master Jiang should be at 9 o'clock, right? It was only 7 o'clock. More than an hour earlier? Old Master Jiang was also a little embarrassed when he heard that. When he saw Hu Chenhuan stand up again that day, he had been in a state of extreme excitement and had not slept well for several nights. Su Yiyan would bring her over next week when she was free, so he called on Monday to ask. They had made an appointment to come at 9 o'clock in the evening, but they were afraid that Su Yiyan would have a bad impression of them if they were late, so they always wanted to come early. In the end, they came more than an hour earlier. That was not all. Before they came, they did not expect Su Yiyan's dinner time to be so late. It was almost midnight, and they were only about to start eating. They came just in time for dinner. No matter how one looked at it, they seemed to have come specially to ask for help. Su Yiyan saw old Master Jiang's embarrassment and then looked at Sister Jiang, who was quiet and curious not far away. She breathed a sigh of relief. She could understand his feelings. Back then, she was also focused on gaining more favorability points and leveling up quickly so that Hu Chenhuan could stand up earlier. Her hopeless life suddenly had a glimmer of hope. Even if she had to crawl, she hoped to grab it as soon as possible. With this trace of sympathy, Su Yian's heart softened a little. "You came so early. You probably haven't eaten yet, right? Why don't you eat together?" Old Master Jiang was slightly stunned and subconsciously said, "No, we." "Goo!" The loud and clear voice reverberated in the room, and the atmosphere between the few people became subtle in an instant. In the end, Su Yian was the first to break the silence. She laughed and said, "Since you're already here, there's no need to be polite. I just made a few extra dishes tonight. It would be a waste if we can't finish them. If you don't mind, why don't you join us?" Old Master Jiang smiled awkwardly. "Then I'll accept your offer." Behind him, young Master Jiang, the culprit of the cooing just now, patted his disobedient stomach in disappointment. He wished he could dig a hole and bury himself in it, leaving only his green head exposed. It was too embarrassing. He had just drunk a bottle of nutrient solution before coming here, so he shouldn't be hungry now. Just because he smelled the aroma of food in someone else's kitchen, he actually cried out. What a disgrace! This young master insisted on coming over because he was worried that his grandfather would be deceived. Instead of going to the hospital, he insisted on coming to someone's home for treatment. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't sound reliable. Along the way, the young master was nervous, thinking that he would turn into a microscope and expose the true face of the liar. In the end, he died before he could succeed. This made the young master, who was still in his youth, deflate like a balloon that had been pricked by a needle. Chapter 551. Hu Chenhuan was already displeased with this group of people who had suddenly barged in and disturbed his and his wife's dinner time. When he heard Su Yian inviting them to have dinner together, his face sank and he was very reluctant. Su Yian immediately saw through his thoughts. She took the initiative to take his hand and said, "Let's go. It's time to eat. I specially made some delicious new dishes today. If you don't eat them, they will be gone in a while." Hu Chenhuan was instantly persuaded. Those dishes were clearly prepared for him. Why should these outsiders take advantage of them? He had to eat more later. Sister Jiang was surprised to see the two of them interacting. She then stared unblinkingly at Hu Chenhuan. To be precise, she stared at Hu Chenhuan's recovered legs. Her eyes lit up. They had actually recovered. Grandfather Jiang and Hu Chenhuan's father were old friends. Because of this relationship, Jiang Qingrun had seen Hu Chenhuan when she was very young. She even affectionately called him Uncle Hua. She was only 10 years old when the family Hua's accident happened. She only remembered that her grandfather had a frown on his face as though he had encountered some difficulties. Later, she found out that the kind-hearted couple had passed away. Their company had been taken over by the annoying Uncle Hua, and the good-looking Uncle Hua had been paralyzed in an accident. He would never be able to walk upright for the rest of his life. At the time, she didn't understand what this meant. She secretly asked her grandfather if he could take her to see Uncle Hua. Jiang Qingrun still remembered the look in her grandfather's eyes when he looked at her. A few years later, she gradually realized that his eyes were full of guilt. When his old friend's son needed help the most, he chose to play it safe in order to protect their family. Although it was understandable, he felt guilty toward his old friend. At the time, he probably never imagined that a few years later, his biological granddaughter would become one of these unfortunate people. Jiang Qingrun looked at the old man who had aged a lot in the past few years and took the initiative to reach out and hold his hand. She couldn't help but recall the time when she had just gotten into an accident. Every night, the old man would secretly wipe his tears beside the sickbed. He would repent in a low voice after thinking that she was asleep, thinking that all of this was retribution for his selfishness back then. Jiang Qingrun didn't think it was karma. Even though she was her grandfather's granddaughter, her grandfather did that for her and her brother. Now that this retribution fell on her, she deserved it. It had nothing to do with anyone else. "Grandpa, let's go." Old Master Jiang looked at his granddaughter, his eyes slightly red. He responded in a low voice and pushed her over. She didn't expect that someone would come back to eat at her house. Su Yiyan basically made dishes that were suitable for Hua Chenhuan's physique and taste. Chen Huan has been rather hot-tempered recently, so his dinner is rather bland. I don't know if it's to your liking. Hua Chenhuan. Sure enough, these dishes to cool down were prepared for him. Rather hot-tempered? Grandpa and Grandpa San Rao's eyes fell on Hua Chenhuan at the same time with subtle expressions. Especially young Master Jiang Qinhuang, he carefully looked up and down at Hua Chenhuan, as if looking for proof of his hot-tempered nature. He was afraid that he would suddenly fly into a rage while eating and spit out a mouthful of fire. If Hua Chenhuan knew what he was thinking, he would probably be unable to help but swear on the spot. He was hot-tempered, but he wasn't a fire-breathing dragon. Spit your sister's fire. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore, for free. Chapter 552. Old Master Jiang was stunned for a few seconds before he realized that Su Yiyan was vaguely showing off her love for him. He coughed softly, unable to adapt to the young man's rhythm. "Sister Su, you're too polite. It's too presumptuous of us to come uninvited." Jiang Qinhuang tried his best to shift his gaze away from Hua Chenhuan and the table. He said tentatively, "Well, my sister's leg, let's eat first. We'll talk after eating." Yes. Let's eat first. How can we be energetic if we don't eat? We'll talk about other things after we finish eating. Jiang Qinhuang received his grandfather's warning gaze. He held his breath in his chest and couldn't get it out. He increasingly felt that his grandfather had been deceived. This person didn't answer because she was stalling for time. That's right, that's it. He had already seen through this person deliberately using eating to stall for time. Moreover, these things didn't look very delicious. He would never eat them. Jiang Qinhuang thought that he had discovered the truth and was full of resistance to the dishes on the table. However, this resistance was soon defeated by the expressions of enjoyment on the others' faces and the aroma of the dishes that kept wafting into his nose. These dishes didn't look special. Why did they smell so good? Then he thought about it again. Maybe they only smelled good but didn't taste good. Why don't I give it a try? Jiang Qinhuang prepared himself mentally. Finally, he picked up his chopsticks and put a piece of bamboo shoot into his mouth. The fresh spring bamboo shoots were sweet and salty. They were crispy, sweet, and refreshing in the mouth. It seemed that he could even taste a trace of game unique to the mountains. By the time Jiang Qinhuang reacted, his chopsticks had already involuntarily reached for the other dishes. His heart, which was originally very resistant to these dishes, had betrayed him on the spot. Su Yiyen didn't know that someone had performed a live performance of smelling good right under her nose. She was being polite by inviting old Master Jiang and the others to eat together. However, these people weren't guests that she had specially invited. Su Yiyen didn't show too much enthusiasm. She sat at the table and ate while supervising Huo Chenhuan to eat the soup and dishes that she had specially made to cool down the heat. You've been having a lot of internal heat recently. This soup is specially brewed for you. It's good for clearing internal heat, replenishing energy and calming nerves. Drink more. Su Yiyen specially scooped a bowl of longan lotus seed soup and placed it in front of Huo Chenhuan. When old Master Jiang and the others, who were sitting opposite them, saw this scene, they were in a trance and sighed. You two have such a good relationship. It wasn't like the rumors outside that it was just a business marriage and a relationship of interest. Su Yiyen was stunned for a moment. She blushed slightly. I'm sorry for making you laugh. Chen Huan's health had deteriorated a lot because of his legs. Although I'm fine now, I still need to recuperate for a while before I can feel at ease. Of course. Although old Master Jiang said that, in his heart he was thinking about when his granddaughter would get better, so that he could have a chance to help her recuperate. Hopefully, this day will come, and hopefully, this day will come sooner. When Huo Chenhuan heard Su Yiyen's words, the corners of her mouth raised slightly. The depression of their world being disturbed finally dissipated a lot. But soon, this smile froze, and her eyes narrowed dangerously. When Jiang Qingwang heard Su Yiyen and Huo Chenhuan's words, although he knew that it was impolite, his eyes still drifted unconsciously to the longan lotus seed soup, and his hand was eager to reach out. Unfortunately, before his hand could touch the bowl of soup, a sharp gaze slashed at him. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 553. Jiang Qingwang's whole body stiffened. He met Huo Chenhuan's cold gaze, and his wrist suddenly felt cold. He always felt that if he really stretched out his hand, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to see the sun again. Forget it. Food was precious, but life was more valuable. He couldn't afford to offend her. After successfully forcing the little puppy who dared to steal food from the tiger's mouth with his eyes, Huo Chenhuan was in a good mood. He drank the bowl of lotus seed soup that Su Yiyen gave him quite straightforwardly. Su Yiyen saw everything. She only felt that it was funny, but she didn't expose him. After the five of them had dinner, they took a short break and got to the point. Su Yiyen first tried to touch Jiang Qingruan's legs like when she treated Huo Chenhuan before. The answer she got was similar to when she asked Huo Chenhuan that day. Su Yiyen frowned, got up and said, "Go to the guest room." Although they didn't know what she was going to do, they still did as she said and pushed Jiang Qingrun into the guest room downstairs. "Put her on the bed and lie down." "I'll do it." Jiang Qingwang immediately volunteered when he heard this. Su Yiyen couldn't help laughing. "If you don't do it, who will?" There were only 3 men in the room. Old Master Jiang was old. Not to mention carrying someone, he would be worried even if he bumped into someone. Her husband didn't like to touch other women except her. Even if he was willing, Su Yiyen wouldn't be willing. Jiang Qingwang was the only one left. If he didn't help, did he expect her to carry him up herself? Jiang Qingwang's face turned green, but he was still worried about his sister's legs. He silently carried her to the bed. "Turn over. I want to touch her bones." "Touch her bones?" Jiang Qingwang looked at her in surprise. Jiang Qingrun didn't say anything. She tried to turn over sideways. Su Yiyen reached out and touched her back all the way down to her tailbone, and a hint of understanding appeared in her eyes. Old Master Jiang stood on the side and looked at her nervously. When he saw her get up, he asked tentatively, "Sister Su, how is Qingrun?" "It can be cured, but it will take some time." When old Master Jiang heard the first half of the sentence, he held his breath. His face instantly turned red, and his hands began to tremble. When he heard the second half of the sentence, he said without thinking, "It's good that it can be treated. As long as it can be treated, we can wait no matter how long it takes." Jiang Qingruan's face was buried in the pillow, so he couldn't see her expression. However, because of Su Yien's words, her hands, which were hanging by the side, suddenly grabbed the edge of the pillow tightly. Blue veins could be faintly seen. It was obvious that her heart was not calm. Jiang Qinhuang's eyes also lit up. He was pleasantly surprised, but he was worried that he would rejoice for nothing. It's good that you're mentally prepared. In addition, since you've already been treated, it's best to continue the treatment one by one. That way, the effect will be better. The problem now is that Qinhuan and I have to go to my aunt's place next month to accompany her due date. It might take a month or two for us to come back. Her place is quite far from City A. Do you want to wait for me to come back for treatment, or do you want to come to me yourself? Hearing this, old Master Zhang's hot head cooled down a little, and he asked in a low voice, Sister Su, may I ask where your aunt is? She's in City C. City C? Old Master Zhang muttered, that's quite far away. But it doesn't matter. I have an old friend who has a property in City C before. I'll call him later to see if I can rent his house for a few months. If it doesn't work, we can also rent it there. Nowadays, if you have money, you don't have to worry about not having a house to live in. You can read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 554. Su Yian raised her eyebrows and confirmed again, so, your choice is, if possible, we hope to do it as soon as possible. Okay, then let's start tonight. You can deal with the house yourself. Jiang Qinhuang exclaimed, tonight. Su Yian turned to look at him. What's wrong? Do you think it's too rushed? Do you want to delay a few more days? No. Jiang Qinhuang hurriedly waved his hand. I'm just worried that you're not fully prepared. His sister was paralyzed in the lower limbs. Could she be cured with a few touches? What do I need to prepare? Do I have to bathe, change clothes, burn incense, and fast before treating your sister's illness? Why are there so many rules? Jiang Qinhuang was speechless. What kind of fallacy was this? It felt even more unreliable. Su Yian didn't care what he thought. She directly shouted at the door, Uncle Zhang, help me bring the box in the room. Okay. Uncle Zhang moved quickly and brought the box down for her in a short while. Not only was there Su Yian's acupuncture bag in the box, but there was also a series of tools such as artemisia and massage. When Jiang Qinhuang and Jiang Qinhuang saw Su Yian take out such a thin and long needle from the acupuncture bag, their faces turned pale. Huo Qinhuan was very calm. After all, he had been pricked many times before, and he didn't know how many needle holes there were on his body. Sister Su Yu. When Su Yian heard old Master Zhang's voice, she realized that they were still in the room. She frowned and said, Why are you still here? Where else can we go? Of course we go out. In a while, I'll lift her clothes and give her acupuncture. You guys are standing here. Aren't you afraid that you'll see something you shouldn't see? Su Yian looked at Huo Qinhuan meaningfully. Huo Qinhuan's face changed slightly, and he said with a strong desire for survival, I'll go out right away. We'll go out too. Grandpa. Jiang Qinhuang's face was full of worry. The needle was so scary. It must be very painful. Unfortunately, old Master Zhang didn't care about what he thought and dragged him out. Seeing this, Huo Qinhuan leaned over and kissed Su Yian. She whispered, I'll wait for you outside. Come out soon. Okay, close the door for me. After the three people left, only Su Yian and Jiang Qingrun were left in the room. As soon as Su Yian approached, Jiang Qingrun's whole body stiffened. Nervous? A little. Don't be afraid. This needle looks scary, but it won't hurt. Jiang Qingrun forced a smile, but he was still a little flustered. He had to try to divert his attention. Can my leg really be cured? Did you see Qinhuan when his legs weren't working? No, but I heard that he was similar to you before. What about now? He's fine. Yes, he's fine. If he can recover, why can't you? Jiang Qingrun was stunned, and her eyes suddenly became hot. It had been a few years. Her grandfather had never given up looking for people to treat her legs, but those people had said that her legs were not cured. Everyone now, someone told her that if others could cure it, Why couldn't she? Jiang Qingrun rubbed the pillow to hide her tears. Thank you, you'd better wait a few months before saying this to me when you're better. But she had waited for a few years. Now it was only a few months. She could wait with hope. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 555. Su Yiyan was busy treating people inside, and the three of them were waiting anxiously outside. Jiang Chengwang, in particular, had been wandering back and forth since he came out. A layer of the floor in front of the guest room was almost rubbed off by him. At first, old Master Jiang was relatively calm. He even took advantage of this leisure time to call the old friend he had mentioned before and ask him about the suite in Sea City. The old friend was also loyal. When he heard that he was going to take his granddaughter to Sea City to live for a while, he immediately said, "Why rent outside? How can renting be more comfortable than living in your own house?" Anyway, they didn't live in that house much and had always been empty. After the grandfather and granddaughter went over, they could help to clean up the house. There was no need to rent outside. He would ask someone to send the key over when he was free. Old Master Jiang didn't refuse after hearing this. He really needed this place to stay now, so there was no need to be pretentious about this matter. As for this favor, he would remember it. Time passed by minute. After about an hour, old Master Jiang began to be anxious. He frequently looked at the closed door of the guest room, and even began to be absent-minded when talking to Huo Chenhuan. Huo Chenhuan was actually a little anxious. He didn't care about Sister Zhang's situation inside, but he was worried that his wife would be tired. After working for the first day, he had to cook dinner, and now he had to treat people for so long. Just thinking about it made him feel tired. Thinking of this, Huo Chenhuan despised this family a little more. He regretted that he had revealed Su Yiyan's matter to him for a moment of convenience and for the sake of this person's old relationship with his parents. Old Master Jiang didn't know that someone had begun to regret cooperating with him because he cared about his wife. If he knew, his mood would be very complicated. "Grandpa, why is there no movement inside at all? Your sister's leg is so serious. It must be more time-consuming to treat it. Just wait patiently." Although he said that, old Master Jiang's eyes couldn't help but drift to the door. Obviously, his heart was not at ease. At this moment, the door opened with a click. Su Yiyan walked out, yawning. "Okay, go in and bring her out. She should be asleep soon." Jiang Chengwang rushed in immediately. "Sister, are you okay?" However, she met her sister's sparkling eyes. "Sister? I'm fine. Take me out." "Oh, okay." Jiang Chengwang was stunned for a few seconds before he came back to his senses. He hurriedly carried his sister into the wheelchair, feeling that his sister seemed to be different from usual. Seeing Su Yiyan come out, Master Jiang also stood up suddenly. Suppressing the urge to go in and see his granddaughter, he took the initiative to ask about Jiang Qingruan's situation. "Sister Su, Qingrun, I've already treated her. Her condition is slightly worse than Chenhuan's." Hearing this, Master Jiang's heart skipped a beat. If her condition was worse than Huo Chenhuan's, then, fortunately, she didn't waste as much time as Chenhuan, so the chances of her being cured are still very high. If it had been a few years later, it might not have been so easy. Old Master Jiang's mood was like a roller coaster, rising and falling. If it weren't for his healthy heart, he would have been lying down by now. That's good. When Jiang Chengwang pushed his sister out, he heard their conversation. He frowned as if he had made up his mind. Suddenly he asked, "Can you really cure my sister?" Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 556. As soon as he asked this question, the atmosphere in the room immediately became subtle. "Qingwang!" Old Master Jiang shouted in a low voice, for fear that he would offend him as soon as he opened his mouth. Huo Chenhuan also took his words as a question to Su Yiyan, and her face darkened on the spot. Su Yiyan didn't care much and said truthfully, "If nothing unexpected happens, yes." Jiang Chengwang gritted his teeth, walked out from behind his sister, and solemnly bowed to Su Yin. He even said in a particularly childish manner, "If you can cure her, my life is yours." Su Yin. Young man, do you think you're filming some righteous martial arts inspirational drama? Hua Chenhuan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. What did he mean by, "my life is yours"? Didn't this mean that he would repay the kindness of saving his life with his body? He dared to steal his woman in front of him. Did he think that he was dead? Chenhuang. Old Master Jiang and Jiang Qingrun exclaimed at the same time. However, unlike the anger from before, this shout was more of fear and worry. How could this child not take his own life seriously? If he took it seriously, wouldn't it be? Su Yin was silent for a few seconds, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. In a society ruled by law, I don't steal, I don't rob, and I don't kill for money. Why would I want your life? Jiang Chengwang was stunned, and his eyes widened. He didn't know what to do. After all, he was still an immature minor. In the eyes of Su Yiyen, who had lived 2 lives, he was just a child. If you really want to do something, first wash your... Su Yiyen pointed at his green hair and tried to think of a word. Wash this green hair. It's really too eye-catching. What did it mean to have green hair? Didn't children nowadays know? Su Yiyen thought about it for a while and decided not to hurt her eyes. She was just trying to pursue a little unconventional and unconventional. Before Jiang Qingrun completely recovered, she would definitely have to meet this grandfather and grandson several times. Based on how much he cared about his sister, he would most likely be present when he treated Jiang Qingrun. Su Yen felt that he might go blind after looking at this green-haired beast a few more times. Hua Chenhuan narrowed her eyes. She felt that the patch of green on top of a certain someone's head was very similar to her. Jiang Chengwang didn't sense the approaching danger. Hearing Su Yien's words, he blankly reached out his hand to touch his dazzling smart neon green. Feeling wronged, he said, "Is it really that ugly?" As soon as this was said, not only Su Yien, but even Jiang Qingrun and the others' expressions became indescribable. "Actually, Grandpa and I have wanted to be with you for a long time. Your hair is really ugly." It was really ugly. She just wanted to protect her child's self-esteem, so she had no choice but to hold her nose and bear with it. Now, someone finally spoke the truth that they had been holding back for a long time. Jiang Qingrun gave his brother a fatal blow without any psychological burden. As if struck by lightning, Jiang Qinhuang shut himself up on the spot. When they saw him looking at each other like this, they couldn't help but burst out laughing. It was a little late when they started the treatment. When the treatment ended, it was already late at night. The 3 people from the Jiang family didn't want to disturb them anymore. After thanking Su Yiyen again, they prepared to leave. Before leaving, Jiang Qinhuang still didn't give up and asked, "You really don't need me, Hua Chenhuan? This stinking brat is asking for a beating." Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 557. Su Yiyen was slightly startled. She glanced at Old Master Jiang and Jiang Qingrun, who looked nervous. She sighed inwardly. Naughty children were really worrisome. No need. Su Yiyen seriously rejected Jiang Qinhuang's proposal. "Child, don't always think about these messy things. Compensation and rewards are important. They have nothing to do with you." "How does it have nothing to do with me?" Jiang Qinhuang subconsciously glanced at his sister's legs and said unwillingly, "I'm not a child." "Before you say that, dye your green hair back first." Jiang Qinhuang. So angry. He couldn't stand this grievance. Su Yiyen didn't care whether he was wronged or not. She winked at Old Master Jiang and asked him to quickly take this naughty child home. Old Master Jiang was also afraid that this naughty child would say something shocking again, so he covered his mouth and dragged him and his eldest granddaughter away in a hurry. Su Yiyen looked at their backs as they hurried away, but she couldn't help laughing. She didn't laugh for long before her face was turned over by a certain someone. She saw her man's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot. "What's wrong?" Su Yiyen blinked innocently. You smiled so happily at him. Huo Chenhuan said this through gritted teeth. Su Yan smiled slightly and deliberately teased him. Don't you think he's very interesting? Ha ha. Su Yan looked at Huo Chenhuan's black face and couldn't help laughing out loud. Do you think his green hair matches you well? Huo Chenhuan's black face suddenly turned green, and 2 sentences he saw in the live broadcast room unconsciously appeared in his mind. Love is a light so green that it makes people panic. If you want to live a good life, you have to be a cuckold. Bah, nonsense, no one can make him wear a cuckold. Su Yiyen looked at her man's increasingly unsightly expression. She held back her laughter and explained, that's the way I look at the child. Although the child is naughty and mischievous, she's very cute. Although he would be angry when he saw them causing trouble, he would feel more helpless, which made him laugh. And when I look at him, I always think of you. Thinking of me? The affectionate look on Huo Chenhuan's face froze. She couldn't understand how they were similar. Su Yiyen turned to look at him. His eyes seemed to contain a ray of light. He's not old. Looking at him, I always wonder if you were about the same age as him before the accident. Huo Chenhuan was slightly startled. Indeed, he and his parents were about Jiang Qinhuang's age when the accident happened. At that time, did you also have a rebellious period like him? Maybe you even dyed your hair green like him? Su Yiyen couldn't help but laugh again. Huo Chenhuan. I'm not. Don't overthink it. I'm not as childish as him. Su Yiyen couldn't help but laugh. She deliberately teased him. You also know that he's childish? Then, aren't you even more childish for arguing with such a childish person like him? Huo Chenhuan was at a loss for words. Anyway, you're not allowed to smile at him like that again. I can't guarantee that, unless he can be normal next time. Otherwise, with that head of green light, green hair, it would be hard for her not to notice him even if she didn't want to. It wasn't just green hair. What if he dyed his hair red, purple, yellow, or rainbow? She couldn't guarantee that she would put all these hair colors on Huo Chenhuan's head one by one. Then, With that thought, Su Yiyen couldn't help but laugh like a barbell. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 558. Huo Chenhuan sensed Su Yiyen's gaze lingering on the top of her head. She heard her uncontrollable laughter and guessed what she was thinking. She was both annoyed and amused. She secretly planned to call old Master Jiang when Su Yiyen wasn't paying attention and ask him to discipline his rebellious grandson. Young Master Jiang, who had no idea that he was about to be cut in half during his rebellious period. Who did he offend? Now that the Jiang family's matter was resolved, Su Yiyen was relieved of the burden on her shoulders. The next morning, Su Yiyen was in a good mood and went to the company to clock in. However, she bumped into an unexpected acquaintance. Auntie? Su Yiyen turned her head in confusion and saw Lan Jie waving happily at her not far away. Why was this guy at her company? Auntie? And Rusu, who was dragged over by Lan Jie, looked at Su Yiyen in surprise. She couldn't believe that this girl, who was about the same age as them, was Lan Jie's auntie? As if reading her mind, Su Yiyen glared at Lan Jie helplessly and pretended to be annoyed. You can just call me by my name. Calling me auntie makes me sound old. Lan Jie touched his head guiltily and complained in a low voice, Sister-in-law and my parents scolded me and told me not to be rude in front of you. Since he had already said that, Su Yiyen didn't want to dwell on the issue. She turned her gaze to the girl beside him. And this is... Hello, President Su. My name is Rusu. I'm the scriptwriter who's here to discuss a collaboration with your company. Scriptwriter? Su Yiyen's eyes darted between the two of them. She smiled and asked, What's your relationship with him? Rusu didn't expect her to be so direct and was stunned for a few seconds. Lan Jie saw this and immediately answered, She's my junior from the same school and also my current girlfriend. Girlfriend? Su Yiyen came to a sudden realization. The girlfriend you mentioned to your sister-in-law during your grandfather's birthday? Yes, that's her. Lan Jie was a little embarrassed, but he didn't forget to recommend his girlfriend to Su Yen. Auntie, our Su is very good at drawing. Many people on the internet like to watch her drawings. She's also a fan of the host. Su Yen then recalled that Lan Jie had previously mentioned that she was their matchmaker. Could it be because of this that a certain someone had dragged his girlfriend into her trap? Oh really? What was her ID in the live streaming room? I might have an impression of him. The moment Su Yen said that, Lan Jie instinctively looked at his girlfriend with an encouraging expression. The corner of Enrusu's mouth twitched when she caught his gaze. She said awkwardly, my livestream ID is my roommate is a dumbass. Su Yen raised her eyebrows. She felt that this ID sounded familiar. She pondered for a moment, then a thought flashed through her mind. Enrusu? Don't tell me you're… Enrusu met her gaze. She didn't know why, but for some reason she revealed her other identity. Oh, I have another ID on the internet. It's Anji Ruosu. So it was her. Wasn't Anji Ruosu one of the dorm sisters who had helped her clear her name on the internet? Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle is Obviously in Love with My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 559. Su Yen was pleasantly surprised. She looked at Enrusu with more enthusiasm. Don't you have a roommate whose ID is Aunt Left today? And she has a verified account called Xia Yuningshi? Enrusu was stunned. She didn't expect Su Yen to know about this. Yes. Lan Jie looked at Enrusu, who was standing there in a daze, and chuckled. I knew she was a fan of the host. You didn't believe me. Enrusu seemed to wake up from a dream. She glanced at Su Yen subconsciously. Then she reached out and pinched Lan Jie's waist without mercy. How dare he expose her in front of Rao Rao? He needs to be taught a lesson. Lan Jie's expression changed. He wanted to cry out in pain, but then he remembered that he was in someone else's company. He could only complain about his girlfriend with tears in his eyes. Su Yen saw the two's actions and changed the subject. Did you come here to talk about a collaboration with our company? What collaboration? Have you signed the contract? It's an adaptation of a comic. I've already signed the contract. I'm here to deliver the script. Comic? Su Yen seemed to realize something. Don't tell me you're talking about, you're not allowed to become a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic? You're not allowed to become a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic was one of the 3 IP projects that Xia Junxing had proposed to her. It was about a 9-tailed fox who became a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic due to malnutrition. She had no choice but to become a black fox. In order to avoid the investigation of the censorship department, she made countless jokes. Although this kind of plot was usually defined as a comedy, the characters in the story were full of character. The seemingly funny plot also vaguely revealed many real problems. There were laughter and tears, flesh and blood. This was why Su Yen had taken a liking to it and promoted it as a key IP. Enrusu was surprised. How did you know? This is the only IP that the company has been focusing on recently. I didn't expect the original author to be you. You're amazing. Enrusu was a little embarrassed by her praise. You're flattering me. I was originally learning how to draw. I drew this on a whim. I didn't expect it to come to this day. My roommate is much better than I am. Your roommate? Su Yen's eyes lit up. Xia Yuningshi? Yes. One of her books has also been signed by your company. What's his name? Dancing in Red. Su Yen was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the book he paid special attention to was written by an acquaintance. Isn't she a cosplayer? Why did you go and write? Before this, Su Yen really didn't know what a cosplayer was. It was because of this Xia Yoshi that he went to investigate. It could be said that he had a deep impression of it. Cosplaying is just her hobby. Writing is also her hobby, just like drawing is my hobby. Enrusu didn't dare to do it. Cosplaying was one of her hobbies. It was just that Xia Ningxi had taught her to cosplay. Usually, whenever Xia Ningxi cosplayed a female character, she would drag Enrusu along to cosplay a male character. It was better not to reveal this matter, lest a certain someone thought that he was a cuckold. At this thought, Enrusu instinctively glanced at Lan Jia. Lan Jia, who was oblivious to the green light above his head. Su Yen heard her words and frowned slightly. Didn't you just say that you learned how to draw? Now you're saying that drawing is just your hobby? What's your main occupation then? I know that. Before Enrusu could answer, Lan Jia beat her to it. Rusu's main occupation is a fashion designer. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 560. A fashion designer? Su Yen raised her eyebrows. Her interest was piqued. She remembered that many of the characters in the comic she had read were quite beautiful. Do you have any finished designs? She asked hurriedly. And Rusu thought that Su Yen was trying to find out more about her, to see if she was good enough for Lan Jia. I do, but I'm still a student. I'm still learning, so I don't have many works. Most of them are just practice drawings. I've read your comics. The lines of the characters, especially their outfits, are quite beautiful. I didn't think about it before, but now that I know you're a fashion designer, it makes sense. Su Yen paused and smiled faintly. Although I don't know much about your professional knowledge, I have a good sense of aesthetics. The clothes in your paintings are very beautiful, and I'm looking forward to them becoming a reality one day. And Rusu was stunned. She knew that Su Yen's words were an affirmation of her abilities. At the same time, it was a sign of goodwill. Her tense nerves relaxed a little. Thank you for your kind words, she said with a smile. Su Yen finished talking to Enrusu. She turned to Lan Jia and said with a half smile, So, you came here with her today? Are you worried that the people in our company will bully her? Lan Jia rubbed his nose guiltily and chuckled. Of course not. I just happened to hear that she was coming today. After asking around, I found out that she's coming to your company. So, I thought I'd come with her and take a look at you. Su Yen smiled but didn't say anything. Her expression said, I've seen through you. You don't have to put on an act. Lan Jia was embarrassed. He coughed softly and said truthfully, There's one more thing. My grandfather and the others want to treat you and Uncle Hua to a meal alone. Would you do them the honor? Su Yen understood the Lan family's intention. They had invited Lan Jia and the others to a meal alone after Master Lan's 70th birthday. At that time, Hua Chenhuan also agreed. However, the Lan family probably didn't expect that Hua Chenhuan's leg would recover before they could send out the invitation. As soon as he recovered, the Lan family hurriedly came over to make an appointment. It was inevitable that people would think that they saw that Hua Chenhuan had recovered and hurriedly came over to curry favor with him. The members of the Lan family couldn't figure out what Hua Chenhuan was thinking at the moment, so they didn't dare to rashly approach her. Coincidentally, Lan Jia suggested that he accompany his girlfriend to Su Yen's company for a spin. The Lan family immediately recalled how much Hua Chenhuan cared about his new wife during the curtain date banquet, so they asked Lan Jia to come over and help persuade her. Su Yen had a good impression of the Lan family. They didn't support them when they were in their prime, but they didn't abandon them when they were down. They were more generous than many people. Chenhuan told me about this before. How about this? I'll go back and discuss it with him tonight. Let's find a time when everyone is free to get together. Lan Jia's eyes lit up. He nodded repeatedly. Okay. I'll go home and tell my grandparents in a while. They've been thinking about this for a few days. Now they can finally rest assured. Su Yen went home that night and told Hua Chenhuan about it. As she expected, Hua Chenhuan agreed without much hesitation. That night, she called Lan Minghan and settled on a time to visit. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 561. That weekend, Su Yen woke up early in the morning to make a bowl of orange peel plum chicken and papaya pork belly soup. She packed them up and prepared to send them to the Lan family. Hua Chenhuan felt sorry for his wife who woke up so early to make food for others. He was also depressed that their morning lovey-dovey time was gone. Seeing Su Yen coming out of the kitchen with an insulated box, Huo Chenhuan said awkwardly and sadly, "We are guests. We don't have to bring food for them. It's because we are guests that we can't bring nothing. If others know about this, we won't even have the most basic manners. Besides, my food is different from theirs. This is specially prepared for the pregnant granddaughter-in-law of the Lan family. As an uncle, are you jealous of a pregnant woman?" That's right. These two things were sent to Yen Xiaoran, who was still pregnant. Su Yen specially sent ginseng to the old master's birthday. She also listed a few nourishing methods of ginseng at the bottom of the box. Her purpose was to nourish the bodies of the two old men of the Lan family who had helped Huo Chenhuan before. Although they were guests this time, they couldn't go empty-handed. With the Lan family's family background, they probably didn't care about ordinary things. What they cared about most now was the health of their family members. The two old men had sent the ginseng before. The men of the Lan family were also strong and didn't need any nourishment. The only person they cared about was the pregnant Yen Xiaoran, the healthy and strong man who was treated unfairly again. It's too difficult. Huo Chenhuan opened his mouth. He had already prepared the gifts to visit the Lan family. But on second thought, compared to the ones he had prepared, the Lan family might prefer the two dishes prepared by Su Yiyen. "I just don't want to see you so tired." Su Yiyen took the initiative to hold Huo Chenhuan's arm. She smiled sweetly, "It's just two dishes. It's not tiring. Besides, the others also helped me. Well, let's not talk about this. Let's go quickly. They will have to wait for us if we are late." The few members of the Lan family attached great importance to this gathering. They got up early in the morning to prepare. "I shouldn't be too rigid in this dress, right?" The blue old man touched the casual clothes on his body and turned to ask his wife for confirmation. No, this is just right. It's not too rigid or sloppy. As long as you don't pull a long face like usual, you won't scare them." When old Master Lan heard this, he curled his lips in grievance. He usually didn't deliberately keep a straight face. Wasn't it because these bastards below were too worrisome that he was always angry? Could he be blamed for this? Thinking like this, Lord Lan's slightly disdainful gaze suddenly turned to his own son, Daddy Lan, who had been implicated even when he was doing nothing. Being glared at for no reason, Mr. Lan was embarrassed. He decisively avoided his father's death stare and coughed softly. "How's the preparation of the dishes in the kitchen?" The soup was simmered early. It was just ready at noon. The cooling layer is ready. Let's wait for the hot guests to come. Otherwise, it will be cold later. Hearing his wife's words, Mr. Lan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Our cook is good at cooking. It's best to let them eat it a second time. In this way, they could take the initiative to come to their house more often and exchange feelings. Naturally, they didn't have to worry about that. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 562. Mr. Lan was very confident in the culinary skills of his family's chef. He felt that even if Huo Chenhuan's family had a private chef, the culinary skills would definitely not be as good as his family's. Yen Xiaoran and Lan Minghan, the only two people who knew Su Yiyen's true identity, had a subtle expression when they heard his words. The chef's culinary skills were indeed not that good, but the host's cooking was not only good, but the food at home might not be good enough. Lan Jie was kept in the dark from the beginning to the end, stupidly waiting for Su Yiyen and Yen Xiaoran to come over. He didn't know why, but he had a good impression of this aunt. Maybe it was because they had a common idol. Idol? No, you're really thinking too much. It was almost 11 o'clock when Su Yiyen arrived at the Lan family's house. Although the Lan family tried their best to act natural, they didn't want the two to be too restrained. But when they saw the two, especially when they saw Huo Chenhuan, their eyes suddenly lit up, betraying their true feelings at the moment. Mr. Lan had already forgotten the script he had prepared before, trembling as he reached out his hand to point at Huo Chenhuan. Huo Chenhuan's eyes quickly flashed with a trace of emotion. He took the initiative to hold the old man's slightly rough hand and whispered, "Uncle Lan, I'm all better." Mr. Lan's eyes reddened because of his words. He patted his hand and said, "It's good that you're all better. You're still young, and there are many good days waiting for you in the future. You're all good, all good." It was just a few sentences, but they were the old man's most sincere blessings. Hu Chenhuan's eyes were more warm. Old Madame Lan also held her husband's other hand and complained, "It's rare for the children to come. Why don't you bring them in to sit? Why are you standing at the door?" Mr. Lan seemed to wake up from a dream. "Yes, yes, yes. I was so happy that I forgot. Come on, let's go in quickly." The old man was about to pull Hu Chenhuan into the house. Hu Chenhuan did not refuse. With one hand held by the old man, she pulled Su Yiyan into the house with her other hand. Yan Xiaoran and Yan Xiaoran naturally noticed Su Yiyan, who was following behind Hu Chenhuan, as well as the thermos in her hand. "What is Auntie carrying? Such a big box, it's quite cumbersome." Upon hearing her question, Su Yiyan immediately exchanged a knowing smile with her. "I heard that Jie's appetite hasn't been good recently and that you've been feeling nauseous, so I specially asked a skilled chef to make some food. I don't know if it's to your liking." Yan Xiaoran's eyes lit up, and the way she looked at the thermos changed. Lan Minghan was also a little excited. After the birthday banquet, his wife told him about Su Yiyan's identity and asked him to keep it a secret for the time being. After hearing this, Lan Minghan finally understood why Su Yiyan could take out such a big ginseng to give to his grandparents. Lan Minghan had a good impression of this benefactor, who had indirectly helped him and his wife to have a crystallization of their love so quickly and had previously helped them solve their grandmother's appetite problem. When he heard that there was something inside that could make his wife feel better, he hurriedly took it eagerly. He even pretended to decline. "You're too polite. Just come. You didn't have to bring anything." "Su Yiyan, you say that, but don't accept things so quickly. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Clearly Loves My Joie bookstore for free." Chapter 563. Mr. Lan and the others did not know about Su Yiyan, so they did not have much of a reaction. However, no matter what, it was still Su Yiyan's kind intentions. Moreover, the ginseng that Su Yiyan gave to old Master Lan during his birthday celebration still made them sigh with emotion. They did not stop Yan Xiaoran and her husband from accepting it. Seeing that Lan Minghan took the things, Mrs. Lan said, "Just in time. It's getting late. Let's have a meal first. If there's anything else, we can talk about it later." Yan Xiaoran and her husband were very curious about the things in the box, so naturally, they did not have any objections. Su Yiyan and her husband were guests. Since the host had spoken, they naturally had no objections. The group moved to the dining table in the inner room. There were many people in the Lan family, and they basically lived together, so the dining table was especially big. The two oldest elders sat at the main seat, followed by Mr. and Mrs. Lan. Hu Chenhuan and her husband were guests, so they sat on the other side. Logically speaking, Lan Minghan and his wife should sit below Mr. and Mrs. Lan, followed by Lan Jie. However, Yan Xiaoran was thinking about the things in the thermos box, so she did not think much and sat beside Su Yiyan. Lan Minghan was the kind of person who would sit wherever his wife was. He followed her and sat beside his wife. Lan Jie was a little late. When he realized that there were no more seats beside Su Yiyan, he was stunned for a moment before sitting beside Mrs. Lan. He was a little confused about his brother and sister-in-law's friendliness towards Su Yiyan. Mrs. Lan was also very surprised when she saw this scene. She smiled faintly and asked, "When did Xiaoran and Su Yiyan become so close?" After asking, she realized that she was a little rude. Before she could do anything to remedy it, she heard Su Yiyan laugh and say, "Xiaoran chatted with me during Uncle Lan's birthday celebration. Coincidentally, my aunt is pregnant, so she has some common topics with Xiaoran. Unconsciously, we talked more." When everyone heard her words, they suddenly realized that the best topic to get this woman closer was definitely children. Although Su Yiyan herself did not have any children, her relatives did. Moreover, they were very close relatives. Naturally, she had common topics with Yan Xiaoran, and it was easy for them to become familiar with each other. A group of people thought that they had seen through the truth, But little did they know that Yan Xiaoran was still in a daze. Before Su Yiyan spoke, she did not even know that the other party's aunt was pregnant, let alone discuss this matter with her. However, on second thought, Su Yan often used the excuse of, "Someone in my family is not in good health and needs to be nourished," during her live stream to create medicinal cuisine for related illnesses. Come to think of it, the medicinal cuisine he drank back then was made for this aunt, and she just so happened to be pregnant? Mrs. Lon had been in a good mood recently because her son and daughter-in-law were pregnant. When she heard Su Yian's words, her eyes lit up. "Your aunt is pregnant too?" "Yes, it's been more than 8 months. It's already been more than 8 months. Isn't she about to give birth?" "Yes, the expected date of delivery is about a month away. Chenhuan and I are planning to go over in a few weeks. There are few people over there, and my aunt is not old. The two of us can help take care of her when we go over, so that they won't be in a mess when the time comes." Mrs. Lon understood and nodded. She agreed and said, Of course. It's already hard to be pregnant, and it's even harder to give birth. At this time, if there are more relatives around to help, she will suffer less and her mood will be much better. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 564. Although other people could not help with childbirth, the family row's concern was always useful at times like this. At least it would let the person who was struggling to give birth know that there were so many people around her who supported her and cared for her. When she gave birth, she would have more hope in her heart and be able to persevere. Su Yiyan smiled. Then, she seemed to have thought of something and casually said, "The 2 dishes I brought for Xiaoran today were also eaten by my aunt before. When she was pregnant, she stayed at my house for a period of time. A few months ago, she did not have much of an appetite. She would vomit after eating, vomit again and again. After that, she finally felt better after eating these 2 dishes. Most pregnant women would experience morning sickness a few months before pregnancy. Qin Shueru's morning sickness was quite severe before, but she happened to be in the Su family at that time. Su Yiyan helped to nurse her back to health for a period of time and there was no problem after that. Yan Xiaoran's morning sickness came later. It only started when she was almost 5 months pregnant. The child was already grown up. Compared to Qin Shueru, it was definitely more difficult for her. Everyone in the Lan family was slightly stunned. They subconsciously looked at the 2 dishes in front of Yan Xiaoran. Su Yiyan made her orange peel plum chicken and papaya stewed pork tripe. 1 dish and 1 soup. The quality of the insulated box was very good. When the soup and dishes were taken out, they were still steaming hot. The faint fragrance of the dishes also drifted into the noses of the rows present. At this time, the table was basically filled with cold dishes and desserts. When these 2 dishes were taken out, they were a little outstanding. The rows of the Lan family were a little dazed. However, they still remembered that these were for pregnant women. No matter how greedy they were, they could not snatch them away. Su Yiyan and Huo Chenhuan were used to eating the dishes at home, so they were calm. They picked up the dessert that they had eaten at the birthday banquet and took a bite. After confirming the taste, they directly fed the rest to Huo Chenhuan. Huo Chenhuan was already used to being fed. She did not even think before putting it into her mouth and eating it quickly. The Lan family members who witnessed this scene. What was this thing that was so dazzling that it almost blinded them? It was only then that Su Yiyan realized that they weren't in their own house. Her hand movements stiffened, and a slight blush appeared on her face. Seemingly seeing Su Yiyan's embarrassment, Mrs. Lan took the initiative to start a conversation. Yan, do you like children?" Su Yiyan subconsciously glanced at the person beside him and whispered, "I like her." "Then the 2 of you will have to work harder to return to school." Su Yiyan blushed, but Huo Chenhuan held her hand and replied with a smile, "We will." This fellow had no sense of shame in front of so many people. Su Yiyan glared at him angrily. She didn't know that in the eyes of the crowd, the 2 of them were harmonious and had a good relationship. While they were talking, the hot dishes were finally served. The Lan family's chef was very good at making desserts, but when it came to hot dishes, the heat control was slightly lacking. However, compared to the high-class restaurants outside, it was considered very good. Su Yiyen and Mrs. Lan had eaten breakfast before coming, so they weren't particularly hungry. Most of the time, they just ate a little symbolically. On the contrary, Yan Xiaoran, who didn't have a good appetite before this and suffered every time she ate, had a much better appetite after eating the orange pickled plum chicken. Not only did she enjoy the 2 dishes that Su Yiyen brought, but she also ate a lot of the dishes that the chef at home made, which made the family overjoyed. Xiaoran, your appetite is much better today. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Clearly Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 565. Yan Xiaoran looked up at everyone and smiled. This plum chicken is sweet and sour. It's very appetizing. The soup tastes good too. How do you feel now? Do you want to throw up? Although Mama Lan was happy, it wasn't like she hadn't experienced such a situation before. She ate it but then spat it all out. Yan Xiaoran shook her head. She felt better than ever. No, my stomach feels warm and comfortable. I don't want to throw up at all. Unlike before, when he started to feel nauseous after eating it, he felt uncomfortable all over. Everyone in the Lan family was overjoyed. They were worried that Yan Xiaoran couldn't eat well these days. Seeing her poor appetite, Jirong thought of the hawthorn that Lan Jie got from Su Yiyen. At that time, Su Yiyen gave him a big box and told him not to eat too much at once or too often. If he couldn't finish it in a short time, he could dry it and store it. The effect would be similar when he made tea. For this reason, they dried a lot of hawthorn in the sun in case of an emergency. Seeing Yan Xiaoran like that, they wanted to give it to her immediately. However, Lan Jie, who had been to the restaurant several times, told them that pregnant women couldn't eat hawthorn. The only way was blocked. They were already thinking about whether they should use Lan Jie's identity as a senior viewer and the friendship between the Lan and Hua families to ask for it shamelessly. However, they didn't expect Su Yiyen to come first. It was like a pillow sent to them when they were sleepy. Mrs. Lan's eyes lit up. She wanted to ask Su Yiyen about the 2 ingredients. Yan, these 2 dishes. Before she could finish, Lan Jie interrupted. Auntie, why do these 2 dishes look a bit like the ones in the streamer's restaurant? It was normal for Lan Jie to have this suspicion. Before this, almost no one would use tangerine peel to cook. It was the same for papaya. Many people only used it as a fruit. Only in the streamer's live broadcast room would they use it to make delicious dishes. Su Yiyen was stunned by his question. After he reacted, he quickly organized his words. Ahem, you guessed right. These dishes are indeed the ones in the streamer's restaurant. Lan Jie's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed, Then how did you bring the food out? Traditional Chinese medicine had always been particular about prescribing the right medicine for each patient, and it was the same for medicinal cuisine. Different people and different situations required different things to eat, so the amount of Chinese herbs added was also different. Just like the person who had been bribed to slander their shop, he secretly took out the food that should have been eaten by him and gave it to others. Fortunately, his mother's illness was more serious than his. His portion of medicine was considered to be on the lighter side, so she didn't have any problems. If the dosage was too heavy, who knew if there would be problems after eating it? Would they really blame it on them? Therefore, after that incident, the employees in the store became even more vigilant and did not allow anyone to take the medicinal cuisine out of the store. How could Lan Jie not be surprised when he saw what was in Su Yiyen's shop? The way Lan Jie looked at Su Yiyen right now was as if he was looking at a bad student who didn't abide by the rules and secretly brought the exam papers out of the examination hall. Cheating bad student, Su Yiyen? Well, Su Yiyen rolled his eyes and muttered, Your uncle is the supreme VIP of the restaurant. Of course, he has some privileges that others don't have. Hua Chenhuan suddenly remembered what Su Yiyen had said to him when he went to the medicinal cuisine restaurant for the first time. His eyes suddenly became deep. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 566. Supreme VVV. Lan Jie was stunned, then his face flushed with excitement. There's a VIP in the restaurant? What are the conditions? I want to have one too. Lan Minghan and the rest pricked up their ears. They wanted to have one too. Conditions? Su Yiyen glanced at Hu Chenhuan, a teasing smile on her lips. You probably need some nepotism. Lan Jie? Nepotism? Was it the nepotism he was thinking of? He felt that something was amiss. Lan Minghan and his wife, who knew the truth. We won't eat this dog food. Although Madame Lan didn't know the inside story, she could tell that Hu Chenhuan had connections. She wanted to ask him for help, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Su Yan could tell what she was thinking and smiled faintly. Xiaoran, if you still want to eat more, let Chenhuan inform them. It's not good for your body to get sick of the same food. Next time, let them change to something else and see which suits Xiaoran's taste better. The Lan family's eyes lit up, but they were worried that it would bring unnecessary trouble to Hu Chenhuan and Lan Jie. Will that be too much trouble for you? No, before I learned these two dishes, I discussed it with the staff in the restaurant. Their restaurant only serves 200 people at a time. It's okay to add one more person for Chenhuan's sake. Su Yiyen glanced at Yen Xiaoran and lowered her eyes to hide her emotions. She didn't want to make trouble for herself, but Yen Xiaoran's health wasn't good. In the test report that Lan Jie gave her, there were some problems with a few indicators. It wasn't obvious now, but when it got bigger, Su Yiyen was worried that she would have gestational hypertension or anemia. Although she had only met them twice, Su Yiyen could tell that this family was really good. The parents were kind, the couple was happy, and the children were filial. Most importantly, he had once extended a helping hand to Hu Chenhuan and treated him as one of his own. In her previous life, she had been by Hu Chenhuan's side. She had never seen him looking for the Lan family, nor had she heard any news about the Lan family. Was it because he did not want to involve them, or had the Lan family been in the same situation as the Cheng family? Because of the plot, although the elders were embarrassed to trouble Hu Chenhuan and her husband, they still felt sorry for them. After hesitating for a moment, he asked for help with a solemn expression, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Hu Chenhuan glanced at his wife who had pushed him out to take the blame. He smiled and said, "It's nothing. You're welcome." Because of this, the distance between them was shortened a lot. It reminded the elders and Hu Chenhuan of the time when his parents were still alive. The two families often gathered together like this. Unfortunately, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Lan Jie, on the other hand, was extremely curious about Su Yiyen. "Auntie, is Uncle Hu really related to the streamer? They kind of know each other, right? Auntie, have you seen the streamer in person? What does she look like? Is she beautiful?" Auntie, Lan Jie was like a sparrow, chirping non-stop around Su Yiyen. The corners of Su Yiyen's mouth twitched. Just as she was wondering how to deal with this crazy fan, Hu Chenhuan interrupted. "Yes, I know her. I've seen her in person. She's very beautiful." Lan Jie? Lan Minghan and his wife. They wanted to kick this dog food over. Chapter 567. Hu Chenhuan glanced at Lan Jie obnoxiously. "Is there anything else you want to ask?" Lan Jie felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately cowered. He could still tease Su Yiyen, who was about the same age as him and looked kind and amiable. However, he was terrified of this person who had once stripped him of his pants, thrown him into a dog kennel, and caused him to be chased by dogs for a few rounds. He was even bitten in the butt. Forget it, he couldn't afford to offend her. When everyone saw Lan Jie's reaction, they were reminded of the funny things that had happened between the two of them, and they burst into laughter. Su Yiyen had no idea what was going on, and she looked confused. "This brat has never been afraid of anything. I'm afraid the only person he's afraid of is Chenhuan." "What kind of logic is that? What did Chenhuan do to him?" "You don't know, but Chenhuan often came to our house with his parents. At that time, Mom." Lan Jie struggled desperately, hoping that his mother would be merciful and save his last bit of face in front of Su Yiyan and his sister-in-law. Unfortunately, his mother didn't receive his brainwaves at all. She said excitedly, "There are no outsiders here, so what's wrong with that? Yanyan, I'll tell you, this brat loves to cause trouble." When he was 5 or 6 years old, he was even more hated by people and dogs. Only Chenhuan could control him. After that, Lan Jia's mother betrayed her son without any hesitation, and she boasted about the funny things that had happened between the two of them. Lan Jia, who had been dealt a heavy blow by his mother and was forced to be publicly executed, slumped in his chair. He spat out a mouthful of bubbles, and his face was full of despair. Why on earth did he have to be so stupid as to provoke this demon and his wife? Was he too arrogant, or was this devil too weak to lift a knife? Su Yiyan listened with great interest. When Huo Chenhuan had gone to her house last time, her mother had also told her many embarrassing things. It was only fair that she heard it now. As he listened, Su Yiyan couldn't help but sigh. "So, you're just an old man." She thought that no matter how mature this guy was now, he must have done something embarrassing that she could use to make fun of him. In the end, after listening to half of the story, it turned out to be about his heroic achievements in dealing with naughty children. Su Yiyan felt that she had reason to suspect that Mama Lan was intentionally biased towards her and was not telling her the truth. Huo Chenhuan? Why was he being old again? Feeling that he had been implicated, he narrowed his eyes dangerously and decided to personally prove whether he was old or not tonight. After the meal, the Lan family's attitude towards the two of them was finally not as reserved as before. Before she left, she even gave them a big bag full of things to take home. Su Yiyan and Su Yiyan could not refuse, so they could only accept it. Before getting into the car, Mama Lan even talked to Su Yiyan alone. Taking advantage of this, Lan Minghan moved closer to Huo Chenhuan and reminded him, "I heard from a friend that the news of your recovery has spread abroad." Huo Chenhuan's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. Lan Minghan didn't know if he understood what he meant, so he added tentatively, "Sister Song is also abroad." Huo Chenhuan was silent for a moment, and his eyes drifted to Su Yiyan. He smiled and said, "It's okay. It won't change anything even if she doesn't come back." Chapter 568. Lan Minghan was a little startled, and then he smiled. "I was worrying for nothing. I wish you and your aunt have a baby soon and grow old together." Huo Chenhuan glanced at him and said in a low voice, "Thank you." He didn't know if she was thanking him for his blessing or for his reminder. When they got home, Su Yiyan was still a little excited. She showed off the gift that Mrs. Lan gave her before she left to Huo Chenhuan. "Look, sister-in-law gave me a gift." Huo Chenhuan smiled and grabbed her hand. "What gift?" "I don't know. It was specially prepared for me. She asked me to see it when I got home." Huo Chenhuan raised his eyebrows. "So mysterious. Do you want to see it?" Although Su Yiyan was a little worried that there might be something ugly in it, she didn't intend to hide it from Huo Chenhuan. "I'll open it." Huo Chenhuan took the exquisite gift box from Su Yiyan. He opened it and was stunned. "What's this? Jade?" Su Yiyan reached out and took out the thing inside. She looked puzzled. "Why is the shape of this jade a little strange? It looks like an animal." "Kirin." This is a kirin." "Kirin? What does it mean?" Huo Chenhuan looked at her deeply and chuckled. "A kirin gives a child. I guess she wants you to have a baby as soon as possible." Su Yiyan was stunned. She felt that the cold jade was inexplicably hot, and her face blushed. "What about you? What? Do you want to have a baby as soon as possible?" This was the first time that Su Yiyan asked him about this topic so seriously. Before, when they talked about this topic, most of the time, it was mostly teasing and joking. Huo Chenhuan was stunned, and then he couldn't help but reach out and touch her head. "Yes and no." Su Yiyan blinked and looked confused. "What do you mean? Don't you like children?" "I do, but... Yanyan, we've been married for less than a year." "Yes." A thought flashed through Su Yiyan's mind. She raised her head and looked at him. "Are you reluctant to leave the two of us alone?" Hua Chenhuan's thoughts were exposed. Her ears turned slightly red, but her eyes didn't flinch as she stared back at him. He really couldn't bear to leave the two of them alone. Having her was his biggest dream in this life. It hadn't even been a year, and there was already another person to share his attention with. Hua Chenhuan had to admit that she was indeed a little cunning. Su Yiyan did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You're even jealous of a child. You're really—" Before Su Yiyan could finish her sentence, she was hugged by Hua Chenhuan. "Let nature take its course. If you're pregnant, give birth to it. If not, wait patiently." Hua Chenhuan paused and said hoarsely, "Yan, I never thought that I would be able to have a child in this lifetime. You can think about it now." Su Yiyan hugged Hua Chenhuan's waist tightly. "If you don't want to have too many children at home, we can have one. But I think two is better. It's more companionable, just like me and my brother. My brother has always doted on me and let me have my way. I'm very happy at that time. But don't worry, no matter how many children there are in the family, you'll always be number one in my heart. You're the most beautiful child in our family." The invisible man, Si Jigu, who was driving silently in front, couldn't help but laugh. After that, he was worried that his young master would find out, so he tried hard to hold back his laughter until his face turned red, and he almost couldn't hold the steering wheel. Hua Chenhuan noticed, but did not trouble him. He just smiled helplessly and said, "Do you think you're coaxing a child?" Chapter 569. Su Yiyan chuckled and admitted it confidently. "Aren't you a child? You're already an adult, yet you're still competing with a child." Su Yiyan rolled her eyes and asked, "So what if I'm coaxing you? Don't you like it when I coax you?" Hua Chenhuan's eyes darkened slightly, and she agreed without any integrity. "Yes, I like it." He, Sima Gu was speechless. He couldn't bear to watch. After Su Yiyan finished giggling, she suddenly seemed to think of something. She frowned and was a little worried. Hua Chenhuan immediately noticed her strange behavior and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" "After your leg recovered, I was a little worried that Hua Xiaofeng's family would come to make trouble for us. But it's been a week or two, and they haven't done anything at all. It's strange that they're so quiet. Could it be that they were scared by your sudden appearance and didn't dare to act rashly? Or were they secretly planning something and ready to cause trouble at any time? As the saying goes, one can be a thief for 1,000 days, but not a thief for 1,000 days. This family was a ticking time bomb after all." Hearing her words, Hua Chenhuan touched her head comfortingly and smiled. "Don't worry, they don't have the energy to care about us now." If Su Yiyan could think of something, Hua Chenhuan naturally couldn't think of it. As early as the night before Hua Chenhuan went to the celebration, a secret email was accurately delivered to Mrs. Hua. The content of this email was intimate photos of Hua Qihan and another woman going in and out of major venues. To put it simply, Hua Qihan had an affair. He found a woman who was one round younger than him and bought a house to hide his mistress. He started a new home outside. Hua Chenhuan didn't know how Mrs. Hua would react when she received these photos, but seeing that she attended the celebration with Hua Qihan the next day, she knew that she either didn't believe it or believed it but didn't dare to fall out with Hua Qihan. But it doesn't matter. If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. Even if Mrs. Hua didn't believe him, he had ways to make her believe him. In the following week, Hua Chenhuan asked people to send Mrs. Hua a copy of Hua Qihan's intimate photos and even videos of Hua Qihan and the actress. Hua Qihan was probably very impatient with his wife and his son, Hua Xiaofeng. He spent most of the week staying at the woman's house on the pretext that he was busy with work. Mrs. Hua had always felt that his attitude towards her had been a little strange recently. Now, he was not resisting her so frequently. Coupled with those photos and videos, it was a catalyst. Just 2 days ago, Mrs. Hua finally couldn't hold back and secretly went to the Hua Corporation to follow Hua Qihan. She found Hua Qihan's house outside and confirmed the authenticity of the photos and videos. Hua Furan was still a little afraid of Hua Qihan. Moreover, it was deeply ingrained in his mind that cheating was a sin. She didn't choose to rush in and argue with Hua Qihan. Instead, she left in a trance. After confirming that Hua Qihan had gone to work the next day, she ran alone to find the mistress. Hua Qihan's mistress was called Xue Xiaoyu. She was young, beautiful, and particularly delicate. In her early 30s, she wasn't particularly young, but she had the mature temperament of a woman that young people didn't have. Mrs. Hua knocked on the door and saw her. She was so angry that her nose was crooked and she slapped her. Xue Xiaoyu didn't expect Mrs. Hua to hit her at all. She was caught off guard and her face swelled. Chapter 570. Mrs. Hua did not intend to let her go. She reached out to grab her head again. Fortunately, the nanny in the apartment heard the noise and rushed out to rescue the mistress. She temporarily stopped Mrs. Hua. Xue Xiao was also very angry after being slapped for no reason. She immediately called the security guard outside the apartment to ask for help. After that, she called Hua Qihan and cried that she had been slapped by a strange woman for no reason. Hua Qihan heard that and immediately left his work to rush over. In the end, when he arrived at the scene, he saw the face of his mistress, who had a handprint on her face. She was cowering behind the security door and crying. His first wife stood at the door and cursed loudly. She even struggled to throw herself at her lover. The two security guards in front of her could not hold her back. Hua Qihan's dark face suddenly darkened. He stepped forward to grab Hua Fureo's hand and scolded her angrily, "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Hua was stunned. When she realized what was going on, she even reached out to grab Hua Qihan. "You ask me what I'm doing here? You still have the nerve to ask me what I'm doing here? Who is that woman? You know better than me who this woman is. You're looking for her outside, and you still have the nerve to ask me why I'm here?" Hua Qihan's appearance was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. It made Mrs. Hua go crazy. Hua Qihan was criticized by Mrs. Hua in front of so many people. His face became uglier and uglier, and his guilt toward Hua Fureo faded a lot. He glanced around with a dark face. Seeing that the two security guards were still there, he simply pulled Mrs. Hua into the house. The door was closed, leaving the nanny outside to deal with the security guards. Xue Xiao was also shocked when she saw Hua Qihan pull her in. She hurriedly stepped back a few steps to distance herself from the crazy woman. As soon as Mrs. Hua entered the house and saw Xue Xiao, she struggled and was about to rush over again. Hua Qihan stopped her. "Enough!" Mrs. Hua was shocked by the roar. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but Xue Xiao's eyes were red. She cried pitifully, "Brother Han?" His shout angered Mrs. Hua again. "Why are you calling me brother? He can even be your father. You rely on your youth and beauty to become a mistress. How can you be so shameless? Are you done?" Hua Qihan's expression finally eased a little because her words had darkened again. Xue Xiao took good care of herself. She not only had a young appearance but also a mature woman. Therefore, within a few months, he fell in love with her tenderness and couldn't get up. It was true that he liked young women, but that didn't mean that he liked people mocking him based on his age or appearance. At this moment, Hua Qihan's disgust for Hua Fulao almost reached its peak, and the last bit of guilt in his heart disappeared. Mrs. Hua was pushed by him and staggered. When she finally stood firm, she couldn't help but want to scream. "Are you done? I'm your wife, your nominal other half. Now you're yelling at me for this woman outside." Xue Xiao hid behind Hua Qihan and looked frightened by Hua Fulao's loud voice. "Brother Han, it's okay." Hua Qihan's heart suddenly softened, and his attitude toward Hua Fulao became more impatient. "Do you know what you look like now? You're yelling outside and yelling inside. You're a shrew." Chapter 571. The word shrew irritated Mrs. Hua. "Do you think I'm a shrew now? Why didn't you think I was a shrew when you married me?" "That's because I was blind. I didn't see you clearly." Hua Qihan's suppressed dissatisfaction during this period of time gushed out because of Mrs. Hua's question. I used to think that you were gentle and magnanimous. Even if you couldn't help me with my business, at least you could let me have no worries about my family. And the result? You're as stupid as a pig. You only know how to yell when you're in trouble. You have no manners at all. No wonder you raised such a good-for-nothing son. He's a disgrace to me. Mrs. Hua was already angry. She didn't expect Hua Chi-han to mention their son at this time, and in such a tone. This reminded her of the day when Hua Xiaofeng was injured and hospitalized. Hua Chi-han was also indifferent. He didn't stay to take a good look at his son before he left. Could it be that at that time, he was already thinking of this? Hua Fu's anger rushed to his head again. Son? Xiaofeng is my son. Isn't he your son? You despise him now? Who was the one who flaunted him around like a treasure in the early years? Half of Xiaofeng's genes are yours. He's a good-for-nothing. Isn't it because he has a useless father? You what? Any man couldn't stand a woman calling herself a good-for-nothing, especially a male chauvinist like Hua Chi-han. He was also angry at the moment. He pointed at Mrs. Hua and scolded, "Don't forget who raised you all these years. You, a parasite raised by me for more than 20 years, have the nerve to call me a good-for-nothing. You're worse than a good-for-nothing. Hua Chi-han, you bastard." Hua Chi-han didn't want to talk to her anymore. He pointed at the door and shouted, "I've had enough. You're an unreasonable shrew. Get out of here now. I'll ask my secretary to send you the divorce certificate. Sign it immediately. We'll divorce. Divorce." Xue Xiaofeng, who was hiding behind Hua Chi-han, heard this and her eyes lit up. She couldn't help but smile. Divorce? Mrs. Hua's vision went dark when she heard those two words. She couldn't help but tremble. This man wanted to divorce her? They had been husband and wife for more than 20 years. In the end, she was scolded as a shrew. Her son was incompetent. This man wanted to divorce her for a woman outside? But Hafro's face twisted for a moment. Especially when he saw the smile on Xue Xiao's face, he lost his last bit of rationality. You want to divorce me? Let me tell you no. Back then, you were the one who begged me to marry you. Now that you have another woman, you want to kick me aside? Let me tell you, it's easier to invite the devil's divorce Mises and tease a woman, teat, he's s. Justus. Sm, have sistav, teat huaving, ssss is to s was. Hua Chi-han reacted quickly. He grabbed Hua Fu's and pushed him away. Mrs. Hua staggered. When she was about to step forward, she heard Xue Xiaofeng's loud cry, "Child, Brother Han, child, my stomach hurts." Chapter 572. Mrs. Hua was shocked and looked at the woman sitting on the ground in disbelief. She just had a child? Whose child was it? This woman was pregnant with her husband's child? Mrs. Hua missed the opportunity because she was too shocked. When Hua Chi-han heard that something had happened to his child at an old age, he did not bother to argue with Mrs. Hua. He picked up Xue Xiao and ran out. When he passed by Mrs. Hua opened her mouth to speak, but Hua Chi-han knocked her away. Her stomach hit the cabinet at the side, and her face turned pale with pain. All the things that happened in the family Hua were reported by the informants that Hua Chenhuan had placed around the family Hua. Su Yiyan was a little confused when she learned about it. Hua Chi-han cheated and had a child with another woman? Mrs. Hua almost aborted the child when she went to catch them in the act. Now Hua Chi-han wants to divorce her? It's really a big show. Hua Chenhuan looked at his wife's expression that said, "What a pity that I wasn't there." She couldn't help laughing. What happened later? Did the child in your wife's belly survive? Almost. Of course, it survived. But I suspect. What? That woman must have deliberately fallen. Deliberately fell? Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment and soon understood Hua Chenhuan's meaning. You mean that the woman deliberately faked the fall to frame Mrs. Hua, so as to provoke the conflict between Hua Chi-han and his wife? It's possible. That's too cruel. What if it's really gone? Hua Chenhuan's eyes were cold and she sneered. This child is her hope of entering the family Hua. She won't be so careless. Even if it's really gone, who do you think Hua Chihan will hate? Of course, it's Mrs. Hua. Su Yiyen couldn't help but feel a little cold. In order to win Hua Chihan's affection, in order to enter the family Hua, she would even use her own flesh and blood. Rao's bottom line was always lower than you could imagine. Every time you felt that what you had seen and heard was shocking enough, there would always be someone or something that would further refresh your understanding of human nature. No wonder they didn't have time to find trouble with us. Their family is probably in a state of chaos right now, right? I really want to see it with my own eyes. It must be very exciting. Su Yiyen seemed to have thought of something and sneered, but if we really want to think about it, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Hua Xiaofeng is like this, and his father is also like this. Now that his father divorced his mother for the sake of those three, he, the former young master of the family Hua, will probably be kicked out of the house along with his mother. I wonder how he feels right now. Thinking of the chaotic situation the family Hua was in, Su Yiyen couldn't help but chuckle. It was really satisfying. He's really not doing well now. Su Yiyen snorted coldly and said sarcastically, his father cheated on his mother, divorced his mother, kicked them out of the house, and even gave birth to a younger brother for him. How can he be doing well? It's not just because of this. Su Yiyen was stunned, and then her eyes lit up. Is there anything else? What else is there? Hurry up. Hua Chenhuan's lips curled slightly, and her eyes were full of gloating. He encountered the same thing as his mother. The same thing as his mother. Didn't his mother just? Su Yiyen's words suddenly got stuck in her throat, and her eyes widened in disbelief. You mean Hua Xiaofeng was cheated on? Chapter 573. Hua Chenhuan met Su Yiyen's excited eyes and couldn't help but pat her head. Yes, he's been cheated on. Su Yiyen was still very shocked. The world's female lead had cheated on the world's male lead. Although the female lead in the original novel was a flirtatious butterfly who flirted with the supporting male leads everywhere and had a lot of spare tires, she didn't really cheat on the male lead. Now that Hua Chenhuan had said so, it was highly likely that the woman had already made the green man a reality. What's going on? Who did Wen Jingping hook up with this time? Does Hua Xiaofeng know about this? Hua Chenhuan didn't directly answer Su Yiyen's first few questions. Instead, he chose to answer the last one. I don't know yet. After today, I'll know. Su Yiyen glanced at him in surprise, her face full of doubt. As if to prove Hua Chenhuan's words, Hua Xiaofeng finally removed the cast on his hand in the afternoon. Looking at his fingers, which were much less sensitive than before, his face was so gloomy that it could drip water. At this time, his mother ran in crying from outside. There was a bright red handprint on her face. Although Hua Xiaofeng was a scumbag and self-righteous, he still cared a lot about his mother who had always doted on him. Seeing this, Hua Xiaofeng's face suddenly changed. He hurried to Mrs. Hua and said angrily, "Mom, what's wrong with you? Who hit you?" Mrs. Hua had completely lost her backbone. She hugged her son and burst into tears. Hua Xiaofeng didn't know what had happened. He hugged her and comforted her for a while. Mrs. Hua finally calmed down a little. She looked at her son and wanted to say something, but stopped. Hua Xiaofeng had already lost his patience. He said anxiously, "What's going on? Who hit you? Hurry up. I'll help you vent your anger." Mrs. Hua heard him and became even sadder. Fortunately, she still had a son. She still had hope. Otherwise, it's your father. My dad. Hua Xiaofeng was shocked. Why would my dad hit you? Hua Xiaofeng seemed to have hit a switch, causing Hafureo's face to twist. That's right, why would he hit me? Of course it's because he already has another woman outside and doesn't want to live a peaceful life with me anymore. Another woman? This sentence was like a blow to Hua Xiaofeng's head, hammering him into a daze. Mom, did you misunderstand Dad? How could he? What misunderstanding? I saw it with my own eyes. He bought a house outside to live with that woman. He didn't go home recently because he was accompanying that B***tish. That woman, that woman is already pregnant with his child. It's been more than a month. They must have hooked up a long time ago. What kind of misunderstanding could there be? Mrs. Hua's eyes were red. She couldn't help but grit her teeth at the thought of that woman. She had thought that Hua Qihan's affair was enough to drive her crazy. Who would have thought that not only did he have another woman, but he also had a child with that woman? Thinking of how Hua Qihan had pointed at her nose and scolded her for giving birth to a useless son, Mrs. Hua understood that Hua Qihan was ready to give up on her and her son and help that mistress and her son rise to the top. Hua Xiaofeng was also stunned. For more than 20 years, he had been the only son and had always been told that he was the only heir of the Hua Corporation. The Hua Corporation would definitely be his in the future. But now, his father had found another woman outside and had another child. Chapter 574. Hua Xiaofeng's face was as pale as paper. He grabbed Hua Fureo's hand and asked, "Mom, how could this happen? Hasn't Dad always had a good relationship with you? Why did he suddenly?" Hua Xiaofeng was fine, but Hua Fureo couldn't stop her tears from flowing down. Was her relationship with Hua Qihan good? Perhaps. At least in the eyes of outsiders, they had a happy family, a harmonious couple, and a son who was excellent in all aspects. But in fact, Hua Xiaofeng's character had become like this, and Hua Qihan had an unshirkable responsibility. Because he was not capable, he hated others for being incompetent. After becoming the head of the Hua group, he had lost self-awareness because of the flattery around him. He used to feel inferior, but now he was arrogant. Hua Qihan still had the nerve to say that she had given birth to a useless son for him. She saw that this useless gene came from him. Over the years, she had been able to endure this man's self-righteous chauvinism. On the one hand, it was because she had feelings for him, and he was well-behaved and never stepped on her bottom line. On the other hand, it was because his family background could bring her and her child a good life. She was reluctant and did not dare to give up such a life. But now, Hua Xiaofeng saw that she was crying and did not speak. He frowned slightly and thought carefully. Soon, he found a reasonable reason for Hua Qihan's infidelity. It must be that woman who deliberately seduced him. That woman must know who Dad is and that he has a lot of money, so she deliberately seduced him. If that was the case, that woman now had a child, which was a great threat to him. He had been driven out of the Hua group. If this woman gave birth to a son, would his father hand over the Hua group to him in the future? No, it was impossible. The Hua group was his and could only be his. He could not let this nameless illegitimate son take away what belonged to him. What happened to Dad? He and that woman. What else? He wanted to divorce me and slapped me. Xue Xiao had been complaining about a stomachache after she fell, but in fact, it was nothing serious. Knowing that his son was fine, Hua Qihan was relieved and finally in the mood to trouble Hua Fureo. He had slapped Mrs. Hua across the face the moment they met, completely destroying the last bit of extravagant hope that they had for each other. Divorce? Hua Xiaofeng exclaimed. You can't divorce her. You can't divorce her. Mrs. Hua was startled by his sudden raised voice. She stared at him blankly, not knowing what to do. Hua Xiaofeng choked. When he came back to his senses, he held Hua Fua's hand tightly and said earnestly, Mom, you can't divorce Dad. He has another woman and another child now. Once you divorce him, he will definitely drive us out. Do you really want that woman to live in our house, use our things, and enjoy the life that originally belonged to us? Mrs. Hua pursed her lips, her eyes filled with resentment. Seeing her like this, Hua Xiaofeng continued to fan the flames. Mom, you are the rightful Mrs. Hua of the family Hua, and I am the rightful young master of the family Hua. As long as you don't divorce, you will always be the mistress of the family Hua. Who does that woman think she is? Even if she can give birth to the child, it will be an illegitimate son who can't be seen in public. But if you divorce her, we will really have nothing. It is almost like giving up everything that should belong to us to that Tsich and her son. Are you willing to accept this? Chapter 575. He Fiuk was indignant. Just like He Xiaofeng, when she first married into the family He was already a giant. He Qihan's parents were not very satisfied with her. In order to marry He Qihan, she took the initiative to ask for a prenuptial agreement. She only married He Qihan after dividing the prenuptial assets. After that, He Qihan had never thought of giving her anything like a house or shares. This was also the reason why Mrs. He had a subtle expression when Su Yiyan showed off in front of them that He Chenhuan had transferred 10% of the He Corporation's shares to her. If she divorced He Qihan now, she would get nothing and would be kicked out of the family. Yes, I can't get a divorce. As long as I don't get a divorce, I'm still Mrs. He. No one can kick me out. So what if that woman is pregnant? Her child was also born as an illegitimate child with no title or status. Mom, you're right to think that way. Even if it's not for me, you must not get a divorce for your own sake. But your father, what's wrong with my father? He's in the wrong for having an affair. How can he force you to get a divorce? He Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and resentment. It's fine if you want a divorce, but let him hand over all of his assets. Otherwise, let that woman and her son be illegitimate children forever. Mrs. He only had He Xiaofeng as her backbone now. Naturally, she would do whatever he said and agreed without much struggle. He Xiaofeng glanced at the wound on her face and said with heartache, "Mom, you should go and treat the wound on your face first." Mrs. He touched half of her swollen face. Her eyes reddened again. She nodded and turned to leave. After she left, He Xiaofeng's expression changed completely. He kicked the table beside him angrily. He had nowhere to vent his anger. Coincidentally, the things that He Chenhuan had sent to him arrived at the same time. "Young master, there's an email for you." "Mail?" He Xiaofeng frowned. He couldn't remember who would send him a mail at this time. He Xiaofeng took the mail and pinched it. It was quite thick, and there was a bulge at the bottom that looked like a round watch. Just as he tore it open, the things inside slid out, and a bunch of photos fell to the ground. He Xiaofeng was stunned. He squatted down and wanted to pick up the photo, but when he saw the content of the photo, his pupils shrank. There were two main characters in the photo. One of them was a man he didn't know, and the other was his girlfriend, Wen Jingping, who had disappeared after the hotel incident and hadn't come to see him until now. He Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment, but quickly reacted and looked at the other photos. The same two people, the same intimate actions, but with different backgrounds. At the entrance of the company, the square, the clothing store, the jewelry store, and even on the side of the road, a man and a woman were intimately holding hands or whispering in each other's ears. Just from this photo, one could see the ambiguity and sweetness between the two. He Xiaofeng, who had a green grassland on his head, was so angry that smoke was about to come out of his head. He threw the photo in his hand to the ground, and it hit the mini projector that had been sent with the photo. With a click, the projector was turned on, and a high-definition video was projected. In the video, the two people were whispering. The woman seemed to have heard something exciting, and she giggled. Then, the two people kissed sweetly, and it was hard to part. They were like a pair of jade. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.